Down a darkened drive, you'll find their candlelight. From a widow's peak, you'll see it burning bright. Through the double doors into their dusty tomb, you'll feel eyes from paintings follow room to room. On the creaky stairs, you may think twice as you tell yourself those bangs are mice. In the upstairs hall, you'll see shadows dance. There's a light from the candle, this is your only chance. You run and you cry as you curse this dark night, only to find at the end there's no candlelight. Instead, there's some headphones you put on full of fear. When suddenly it's every nightmare rolled into one that you hear. And it says, "Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we have had a time.
We have.
We have had a time trying to get this show on air.
It's been, how many times have we done this show now?
This will be the third.
Yes.
Third
attempt.
The third attempt. So the first time we went all the way. Mm-hmm. Boy, that was true. The first time of doing this show as well, we actually went all the way through. We did the show the next day because things just haven't been right. If you follow our social media, I haven't felt myself. I just haven't felt good. Mm-hmm. Couple of weeks, and it's not like a physical ailment. It was just something emotional. Just something just wasn't right. And I know we've all been like that, right? Mm-hmm. That's why we have like things like, and I'm not at this level, but that's why we have like the suicide prevention hotline on our website, mm-hmm. because sometimes it just gets real. And what's happened with me over the past few weeks has just been one of those moments where I just don't feel good. And I've been trying to snap out of it. But here's the problem with that, folks, is, first episode, we just the next day we're like, you know what? No, it just didn't flow. Mm-mm. And when we don't flow, we don't go. It's right here on the wall. When we don't flow, we don't go.
It's cross stitched.
Yeah,
like a sampler.
Exactly. It took Stacey forever to pay that woman that cross stitched it for us, but it's really nice. It's amazing that it's in that little brown circle like that little piece of fake wood. I really like that. I like the little praying hands too. I don't know why they were on there.
I don't know.
Do you think she was starting something else?
Possibly.
And then put that, and you asked her the thing about flow, which she thought was something completely different. She thought you were going to give it to your daughter at that special time, just to make a real landmark of the conversation. But anyway, we even had a great fart joke in the first one. And I hated losing that because I made the sound that Stacey's fart would make if it ever came out, because I haven't heard it in 22 years. And I compared that to a goose. And I just had to get this in there, Stacey. I'm so sorry I'm shooting this on you. But I was just putting, I don't know at this point if I ever want to actually hear it, because she's always been like,
oh, I go to the bathroom. like a proper lady.
Well, the thing is, I've been with you day, night, naked, lots naked, and not once have you let one rip, slip, or blip. And yeah, I'm happy about that. I'm very happy about that. But the point I made on the hidden episode that will never see the light of day, don't worry, this was the only good thing that was on there. And this being good is debatable on this. But I was like, I don't know if I ever want to be sitting there. And with all this holdback she's had, I'm thinking that it's not that she's being polite. I'm thinking that she's got like a malformed anus. Like I'm thinking that she's got something's wrong with her poo sound, and that if it ever comes out in front of me, it's going to and I'll be like, what the? Just jumping off the bed, jumping through a wall like a car. Excuse me, I'm a So we don't need any of that. So that's about the only thing you guys missed on that one. This one is going to be much better, but the thing about it is, I need you to settle back. I need you to relax. I need you to find your favorite drink. I need you to find your favorite neighbor or whatever. Whatever makes you happy right now. If you are driving on the Autobahn, I need you to go at a reasonable speed to be able to listen to this entire thing, because we're going to go pretty hardcore on this. So let's just get this out of the way.
Okay.
And we have to get that. We talked about number one. Mm-hmm. Okay. So number two, we had everything regrouped, and we were like, you know what? This is going to be a great night for a show. The full moon. And not only any full moon, it's the full moon before the summer solstice. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a moment of energy and renewed energy and love and all this good positivity and all this stuff, and we were looking forward to that. And it's the strawberry moon. I mean, I had some really cool things about it too, and I'm still gonna give those, because when I do research, dag nabbit, you're gonna listen to it. Some of the cool things about the moon, and we'll get to what kind of abominations happened last night. But here's the deal. So in Europe, this is something I didn't know. Mm-hmm. So here the moon was the strawberry moon. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool, right?
Right.
But we always know that. Mm-hmm. In Europe, it goes by different names. Oh. Were you aware of that?
I was not aware of that.
So we have a lot of listeners in Europe.
Okay. Yes, we do.
Like a shaitan. Mm-hmm. And it's like a shiitake mushroom. Mm-hmm. A shaitan is a large amount of Europeans
that listen to our show. Yes.
So in a lot of places that sometimes you joke about too. So I'm a bit embarrassed for you about France.
I can't control myself.
And you know what's really weird about that?
What?
Is you're French. Mm-hmm. That's really weird. I'm Norwegian and you're French. We're niche or for region. Anyway, so in Europe it's called. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Any guesses?
Absolutely no guesses at all.
Okay, all right. Well, I didn't think you'd have. I mean, that would be pretty impressive. Yeah. Honeymoon.
Oh.
Isn't that weird? Okay, you know what?
That's weird.
So here's the thing. I wrote it down.
Right.
I wrote it down, and it didn't hit me.
Right.
It didn't hit me till 2.5 seconds ago.
When you were getting ready to read it.
I mean, what the heck? I was like, it's just honeymoon.
Honeymoon.
So I could see why that one didn't make it to America.
Right.
Do they not call honeymoons over there?
I have no idea.
Do you think they call them something stupid like they do like with their vacations? Like, oh, we're going to take a holiday.
Maybe.
I love you, Europe. And you know how much I want to live there, but it's a damn vacation. All right. A holiday is something you get off work for. Yes, you get off work for your vacation. Never mind. All right. So I like the second name. It's a mead moon.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Mead? Like
the drink.
Like
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the third one is sort of like the singer Seal named it. It's a full rose.
Like full rose moon?
Yeah, full rose moon.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't like that one.
No, it's really stupid.
So how do they determine which name to use?
Well, Europe's a big place. I don't know if you've checked it lately.
Yeah. So is it just different areas use different names?
And they all don't really agree on everything.
I see.
They're
I was just curious.
They're a little bit famous for that.
Yeah, I know.
So it could be different parts. So all right, so here's some other places because of my handwriting. Uh-huh. I have no idea where this is. Oh, yes, I know what that says now. Well, I couldn't figure out what the South Hen was, but it's the Southern Hemisphere.
Oh, I gotcha.
Okay. I was like, where the hell is South Hen? Some people have shorthand. I have John hand.
I can't read it at all.
Yeah.
John, like chicken scratch.
John hand. Really? Do you not like my handwriting?
I didn't say I didn't like your handwriting. I can't read your shorthand when you're writing in a hurry and you're abbreviating things. I can't make it out.
Well, when I abbreviate them, I believe that I'm going to remember what I meant at the time.
Right.
And I don't.
I gotcha.
So I hope that my mind, because it's my mind,
right, will
be able to go, oh, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Well, it never does. So here I have something written about South End, and I don't know. That sounds like a borough of London. He lives from South End. So Southern Hemisphere has the best names. The Oak Moon.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Woody.
I knew you were going to say
it's a
Woody.
Woody name.
I like this one too.
Okay.
The Cold Moon.
Oh, creepy name.
Well, it's winter there.
Yes. The cold moon.
Yeah. And then my favorite one.
Okay.
My absolute favorite one. This is such my favorite one that it's also obviously George R.R. Martin's favorite name for this moon.
Okay.
Any guesses?
Is it a wolf moon?
No. We already have a wolf moon.
Well,
But thanks for playing. You're going to get our parting gift, and that is an all expense paid one-way trip to the Dominican Republic. And we are currently sending your American white ass down to the Dominican Republic.
Is this why it's a one-way trip?
Yeah, well, there's no need, as we've been seeing here recently. Our travel agency has decided we're going to wait and play it out. See what happens.
When your vacation's over, if you need the return trip.
Yeah, we'll be there for you. If it's, feasible after you go through detox and we make sure you're not contaminated. Why in the hell would anybody go there right now?
I have no idea.
You know what? I mean, seriously, if you do go there, do you think you might have them hold the ice?
You'd be like Mad Eye Moody, bring your own bring your own flask and just drink it.
Yeah,
anything.
I'll take that liquor with no ice, please, and a bit of no liquor. I mean, jeez, good Lord. Anyway, you got that. It's called the Long Night.
Oh, okay.
The Long Night Moon.
That's crazy. I like that.
Isn't it awesome? Mm-hmm. Go Southern Hemisphere.
It's because it's near the solstice, I suppose.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's very cool. And, there was actually, because I'm a Cancer, my birthday is June 25th.
I was wondering if you were going to expand on that.
just going to say that my birthday is June 25th. And this is kind of our solstice episode because, well, it's our solstice episode. And we always do something special for our solstice episode. It didn't begin as our solstice episode, but now it is because it's the bloody third time we've done it. But, before I get on more to what happened last night, I'm trying to tease you guys here. I'm going to, this really cool, really cool horoscope for me today.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't read horoscopes very often.
Right. Just near your birthday.
Yeah, just near my birthday. Mm-hmm. I think some people do that, right?
Probably.
So this one says, tidy up your heart as you do your home. Sweep away the dust bunnies of resentment and enjoy a fresh start together. Isn't that a cool?
That is very cool.
I figured that, as always, that may apply to somebody.
It could.
And I thought maybe I would put that out there. Mm-hmm. This time it didn't come from Great Antonio.
No, it didn't.
But, we do have a little special guest because we were going to tell a story and we're going to get to what happened last night. But what happened last night is going to be a little bit more involved. So we've had this guest waiting on the line ever since before we went on the air, and it's a surprise for Stacey. I'm going to click him in now, and Stacey will know what to do from there. Hold on a second. Caller, are you on? Ooh, hello, pretty lady.
Oh, no. Hi, Great Antonio.
Oh, hello.
And
so you know Antonio by voice now.
Yes. You are probably the only person that calls me pretty lady.
Oh, well, there's a lot of people missing out.
Why are you calling in? I have not been informed on this.
Oh, well, the Great Antonio, the psychic and the medium, gave some advice last week.
Oh.
Yes, there you go. I like when you make that sound and we do it together at the same time. It's that mutual sound. Great Antonio really likes this pretty lady.
I see.
So being a psychic enemy, shut up, Philip. I know I was just on the show. Hold on a second. I'm so sorry. Hold on a second. I know I was just on the show, Philip. Am I asking you anything? No, I know it's your night off. Enjoy, Barry Manilow. Whatever. It's fine. Sorry. He went to go see the new Elton John movie. He's just been a piece of work ever since then.
Yes.
He's fine. Anyway, so I thought it would be cool last week for Great Antonio to directly give something for one of your listeners.
Yes, you did.
And I thought maybe you might want to tell the story about the Great Antonio of last week and what happened.
Yes. So
protect the innocent, by the way.
And so the Great Antonio gave some predictions, and some of those predictions were for our listeners. And of course, John wasn't in the room at the time. He's, listening to the phone call now, Great Antonio, just so you're aware that John is listening.
Oh, yes, I'm aware.
To the phone call.
Yeah, I'm aware too.
So Great Antonio gave some predictions for our listeners, and the first one was for a particular listener, did not give his name or her name, and just gave the prediction, and then said for that person to message us if they heard the prediction and it was for them. So after we were done recording the show, we got a message from this particular listener because I asked the Great Antonio who it was for, confidentially.
She wanted to know, so Great Antonio gives her information.
He can't resist telling me.
No, I can't resist anything.
And so this particular person messaged John and myself right after we finished recording the show, before we even put the prediction out there, messaged us and told us about the thing the prediction was.
Just great. Fantastic.
So it was amazing.
Yes, it was. I told you, Philip. I told you. You should listen to the show, you jackass. All right. So what happened is to my understanding, so this gentleman or female, is you wanted to call him, he got a hold of you and he had no idea because you had not aired show. And,
right.
And then he told you the Great Antonio's prediction.
Yes.
And he was like, oh, thank you. He's just going to let you know, I've been thinking about this and it was exactly right. And now I understand that he's all happy and go lucky and all that good stuff. Living happily ever after.
Yes.
Oh, that's Great Antonio. That makes Great Antonio's heart go purr. It's just, I'm a soft person.
Yes.
I'm a very soft person. Well, not a pretty lady. Okay. All right. Great Antonio. Thank you. We're going to let you go now. Oh, pretty lady. It's okay. All right. So we're going to have to discuss this Great Antonio thing.
Right. He's very nice.
Yeah,
very, very gentlemanly.
He seems that way. I noticed your Skype open the other day.
Right.
And it was one Tony for pretty lady.
That was purely coincidental.
Okay.
Purely coincidental.
All right. Well, I trust you.
Yes.
So anyway, moving on.
Right.
We need to talk about last night.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about Demi Moore pre-boob surgery about last night.
So this was the second attempt at doing this episode. It was last night.
Right. So it didn't work out.
It did not.
Things weren't going very good. And we're going to sort of breeze through some of the things because some of the things are rather private. And there is a lot of stuff we don't talk about. To be honest with you, we have recorded 2 versions of this story. There's a long version and then a version that I feel more comfortable putting out. I have things that I deal with that probably aren't ready to be out there yet. That, and stuff that Stacey and I deal with together just because of what we do. And we like to keep some of this stuff separate. I also have, and I never mention anything about my company or anything, but I have a very important hashtag Bruce Wayne job. And, so I'll put it to you this way. Last night, I don't know how your night went, but our night ended up with a botched podcast, a weird evening altogether, a couple that's snuggling, and really some good stuff being said, just some lovey-dovey, Stacey on the chest, that kind of stuff. And Stacey got to hear a disembodied, I don't want to say demon, but I do want to say negative, haunting, a negative entity.
Well, you could describe it as a demonic growl sound.
Yeah.
But not saying that there was a demon, just saying the sound was what you would consider and a demonic growl.
And the things that were happening during this time, okay? Just mind-boggling, mind-blowing. And what we might actually do is keep both versions of the story and keep the original story, the longer version, and use it on a Realm of Shadows at some point. With the patrons, it might be one of those things I'm more comfortable with than just putting
Right.
it out there, in the entire public,
Right.
if you will. But we will say this much. Our night ended with demonic growls, sage, a giant quartz crystal, a burnt hand, and the quartz crystal going from normal looking quartz crystal, and I'm talking a giant quartz crystal, to completely burnt and black, with no fire involved, just being held in a hand. Let's just say that. And with transference of some energy. And then we ended up at 6 a.m. at the lake, and Stacey chucked a crystal to the bottom of the lake, in a very deep part of the lake. We won't tell you where.
That was quite the drive.
Yeah.
30 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a hell of a way to start the day. No sleep.
Or finish the night.
Yeah. No sleep for me. I worked all day and was completely fine with it. But just an interesting thing. And yay us. It was just a great way to start the solstice week. So wonderful full moon.
House is feeling better, though.
The house is feeling better.
House is feeling better.
Yeah.
Lighter.
It is.
Yes.
Obviously there was something here. And that was probably what was going on with me. So sometimes, some of us pick things up easier than others.
Yes. And sometimes it just has to wait until you can discover it.
Yep. It has its perfect little time to rear its ugly head.
Yes.
Like hashtag mommy daddy time.
So I think to the point of the story, we didn't record the podcast last night like we wanted to. That was the second attempt. I think we were talking about how this is the third attempt.
Yeah.
We were somewhere in there. We were talking about
absolutely
recording the podcast.
Yeah. And so there you go, folks. This is the third attempt. And I think it's a beautiful attempt. I think it's going, as far as attempts go, I believe this one is attempted murder. So we are doing good, and we will not get a life sentence for this. This should be just, 30 to 60, something like that. I don't know what they go for that anymore. I don't know what the going rate on attempted murder is. But I would like to talk about something, since we're talking about our haunted houses.
Yes.
I was looking because of, certain things that may be going on. I mean, let's just say hypothetically that I'm the best thing that's ever been at my job, at my hashtag Bruce Wayne job.
Right.
And let's just hypothetically say if there were awards, I would win them all. Hypothetically, absolutely. Right. And let's hypothetically say that I am definitely going to go up again, before too long. And so I was looking around just, because you got to dream, right?
Right. You got to have a goal.
You got to have goals and dreams. So I look all over the country because, listen, there's one thing about me. Ever since I was about 18 years old, there's always been a box. Are you willing to relocate? Why, yes, I am. Everybody always looks, why are you smiling, kid? Well, I'm willing to relocate, sir. Where are you willing to relocate to? Where's your worst district? Well, it's in Maine. I'll take it.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Turn it around, boom, you get to come back. It's just the way it works. You got to make sacrifices.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. So I like the sacrifices because the sacrifices always let me see weird places. And I'm looking at you, Kentucky. I'm looking directly at you, Kentucky. It's a little awkward. But I found, because believe it or not, and I'll have you put this link up. It's really cool. Believe it or not, you can look up haunted houses for sale.
Wow.
And things like realty.com will come up with top 10s. This one is actually on loveproperty.com.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was looking at these different homes that are purportedly haunted, but also freaking beautiful.
Oh, I'm sure.
Good Lord, they're beautiful. So I found maybe my favorite home I've ever found in my life, and of course it's $3.5 million.
Oh my goodness.
It's I mean, with the right financing and
I feel like you're gonna need to move up more than once.
Well, yeah, maybe 5 times, but with the right financing and the right investments in the next few years, this could be yours.
Hey, you gotta have goals.
So and this is not fair to the people at home or on the road right now listening to this, but it's called Campbell Castle in Wichita, Kansas. Okay, it is like it sounds. It's a castle. It's beautiful. It was constructed between 1886 and 1888 by Colonel Burton Harvey Campbell and his wife Ellen, who did not have 5 names, I suppose. Many of its features were imported from European homes, such as castle, which some paranormal investigators claim are haunted by ghosts from days gone by. There's the front of the castle.
Oh my heavens, that's beautiful.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's nothing. Hold on. You're going to see this here. This is my favorite picture from it, and it'll tell you some of its fascinating features include a 300-year-old grand staircase.
Oh, wow.
German stained glass, Spanish lamps, and an arched dining room window, which was imported from England. You'll see all that in this with the glass on the right and over the fireplace. You'll see these chairs, you'll see these rugs, and you're going to see what it's not spiral, but this 300-year-old German grand staircase. There's something about this that works, and you know how I love wood anyway, and I want you to take a look at that room.
Wow, that is really pretty.
Is that not just gorgeous?
That's amazing. I could just stay in that room.
Yeah,
just
forever.
right there.
Yeah, see, if I was a ghost, I'd probably just stay there. I'd probably just sit right in front of the fireplace. Say, hey, y'all, how y'all doing? You know?
Wow.
Yeah, he's the ghost of the chair, you know?
And it's in Kansas?
Yeah,
what an odd place.
I know. It really is. And I mean, they go on and on. They've got a tub that you just will die for. You see that tub beside the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's just unreal.
That's
and
beautiful.
The really cool thing about it is I didn't expect to find something like that. The whole point was I was looking up to see, you know, so I could be used and ready to wherever I was going. And I did find obtainable ones,
right?
You know, ones that were of normal price. But yeah, the one that I was looking at went on the market October 15th of last year.
Oh wow. Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, isn't it? Right on your birthday. So anyway, you know, like I said, if you follow along at paranormalsideshow.com, you can actually look at these pictures as we're talking about it. That would be cool. So I'll like I said, I'll give the link to Stacey on this. If you have, you know, a little time and you're bored and you're working right now, why not just pull up a window behind your work and look up haunted,
some cool haunted houses,
haunted properties. But I just thought that was kind of neat. Speaking of kind of neat, and speaking of the internet, we've been doing a new thing on our Facebook. We talked about last week with, you know, asking the questions and putting up the cartoons and all this stuff. Just unbelievable reach with everyone we've been getting, and we've been getting all kinds of great conversation.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's been coming up with these incredible questions. Thank you, whoever that is that has been putting those out there. But, you know, along the way, we always meet new people. And normally I don't do this, but I have to say there was a sweet lady who was listening and letting us know that, you know, usually when people start, it's the same. They'll find us and they'll binge the whole thing. They'll never be the same at the end of it.
We should put a warning label on that.
Yeah, please do not binge entire thing in 3 days. But Rebecca Decker. Now, I also like the way her name rings.
Right. It certainly rolls off the tongue.
It's like Rebecca Decker. Like if I was still in Maine, that would totally be what it was.
Right.
Rebecca Decker. But Rebecca Decker is, you know, she getting in on the games, and she had a really creepy time slip story. And, you know, that was one of the questions. So her time slip story was just, you know, you need to go there to facebook.com/paranormal sideshow, read some of the people's time slip stories. There's some really great ones. And one of the reasons we really like this is Stacey and I have experienced the time slips with roads that we knew so well, that we've traveled many times to go home in a place we used to live. It hasn't really happened in other places. There's this one stretch of highway that was Native American. There was some battles there. It's a very like haunted piece of forest, and you can feel it when you're going through there. But we'll be going through there, not really talking, listening to some music or something, and before we know it, Stacey will be, you know, like, hey, where are we? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea where we're at, and we'll look around, and it will not be familiar to us, although we travel it every day. It will not be familiar to us for about 10 miles.
Very strange.
I don't know where we're at when that happens, but it's always secluded. There's never cars. It's very strange. It's like we went into another time period. I've worked with other investigators who have went into rooms before and blipped out. Mm-hmm. And that room was that room at another time period. I have had UFO encounters with Stacey. That unidentified flying objects, people. I didn't see aliens or anything with it, but where we looked up, we've talked about this one not too long ago, and we didn't remember it at all. There's a little bit of time passed, and we didn't remember it all till later on. And just because something got brought up, we're like, holy cow, why didn't we talk about that? Mm-hmm. So weird stuff happens with these time slips, and it's very interesting to me. It always has been the subject of time travel. Now there's some of these out there that are false and urban legends on the internet. Sometimes people hear about the guy who got hit by the car in crossing Times Square, and they looked at his wallet, and it just so happened to be the guy that went missing, like 80 years before. Well, it's a caca story. And there's a lot of caca stories out there. Okay. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, there are, but there's also some unexplained awesome stories.
Yes.
I didn't get 8 of them because I'm not the beautiful Stacey. But what I did is I didn't want to just look up stuff. I wanted to get ones that because it is a favorite of mine. Okay. Mm-hmm. I like the Philadelphia experiment. Okay. That one is awesome. Not really time slip as much as body slip through steel. You can look that one up yourself, but I love stuff like that. And so I got a couple of stories that I actually knew already.
Okay.
And wanted to make sure that I got them, off a well-written website and talked about them. So I'm going to start with my second favorite.
Okay.
And then I'll get to my favorite.
Okay.
But this is a really cool story, and it's about an airfield. Anybody who's ever been into this stuff, I'm sure has heard about this.
Okay.
It's the Drem Airfield, DREM. Okay. So this particular story is about Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard.
Okay.
There's a woody name for you. Of the British Royal Air Force.
Yes.
You can see Graham Chapman right now, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
In 1935, good year 1935, Goddard flew a Hawker Hart biplane to Edinburgh, Scotland, from his home base in Andover, England.
Okay.
It was a weekend visit, and on a Sunday, I can see that now. It's just pleasant. Mm-hmm. Goddard decided to fly over an abandoned airfield at Drem, not far from Edinburgh. It was closer to his final destination than the airport at which he landed. Constructed during the First World War, the Drem airfield was not much to see. It was overgrown with foliage, and the hangars were falling apart. I mean, mm-hmm. it was built for the World War.
Right.
They didn't know they were going to have another one. The former airport was now a farm, and cattle grazed there where planes were once parked. I mean, it doesn't take long for nature to reclaim.
Right.
So on Monday, Goddard began the flight back to his home base, but he encountered a bizarre storm that gave him problems controlling his aircraft.
Right.
And he was flying in an open cockpit over mountainous terrain without radio navigational aids or cloud flying instruments, 1935. In the high winds of the storms, there were strange brown-yellow clouds. He lost control of his plane, and it began to spiral down to the ground. Goddard was unable to stop the spin, and he was uncertain of his location that he was at. And I mean, this guy was like straight as they come, man. Mm-hmm. This guy was stiff upper lip, don't tell stories like this kind of guy.
Right.
And anyway, it looked really bad for him, and he feared that the rapid fall was going to be a crash into the mountains, And being as British as he was, he's like, well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
He seemed to have little chance to come out of the clouds. As he looked around, he noticed that the sky was darker than ever. The clouds were yellowish brown, Goddard was now flying at 150 miles an hour, and he was still falling. After what seemed like an eternity, he finally succeeded in leveling out his plane, and he managed to avoid a crash. At this point, something strange happened. Okay. As if that wasn't strange enough with the baby poo clouds. He looked around, trying to determine his location, and to his surprise, he noticed that the sky was now suddenly bright and golden sunlight.
Oh, wow.
And he was approaching the old abandoned airfield at Drim. As he looked around, Goddard noticed that it was the same airfield, but everything was different. The hangars appeared to be new. There were 4 airplanes on the ground. 3 were familiar biplanes, but they were painted an unfamiliar yellow. The 4th was a monoplane. And this was really odd because the Royal Air Force had no such plane in 1935. The mechanics were dressed in blue overalls, which Goddard thought odd since all RAF mechanics dressed in brown overalls. Even more curious was no one seemed to notice him. I mean, he's flying over the airfield.
Right.
And none of the mechanics paid him any attention. They didn't look at his craft. It was almost as he was invisible to the ground and to the people on the ground. Leaving the area, he again encountered a storm.
Oh, of course.
But he managed to return to home base safely. Goddard told other pilots about his unusual experience, but no one took him seriously. His friends thought he was either crazy or drunk or crazy drunk. Goddard decided to keep the story to himself because, stiff upper lip.
Right.
For many years, before finally in 1966, he wrote down and revealed his strange encounter with an unknown plane from a different time. Here's the interesting part.
Okay.
In 1939, Goddard watched the RAF trainers begin to be painted yellow and the mechanics switched to blue coveralls. The RAF, which was 4 years later, the RAF introduced a new training monoplane exactly like the one he had seen in his flight over Drim. It was called the Magister. He learned that the airfield at Drim had been refurbished. And the question has always been, did Goddard for a brief moment in time, travel into the future? I mean, it looks that way, right? So it's just one of those stories. It's just very interesting. It's always been super cool to me because of who he was. Now, I know today we trust pilots so much and we trust, military personnel because their reputation.
Right.
When you're like in that field or you're a pilot, your reputation's everything and giving it up, But when you're in 1935 and you're a Royal Air Force pilot, okay, and you have rank, and he's got rank, and you don't make up weird fantasies.
Right. Things that are going to make people think you've lost your mind.
Right. But you would, if you've seen this, you would be like, whoa, I need to tell you this. This is nuts. This could be the Nazis doing something crazy.
That's crazy. Could you imagine seeing that and, not wanting to tell anybody because they wouldn't believe you, but then years later seeing everything you saw?
It'd drive me insane.
That's just crazy.
That's where mashed potatoes on the plate.
You usually hear about people jumping to a future thing. Like normally they see the past or that sort of thing, and that's an unusual.
Well, if it works in one direction,
right, it should
theoretically it should work in both.
But that's just not something that you hear a lot of.
Right? No, you don't. It's very strange, but I think it was interesting too that he was invisible to them.
Right, like he was just seeing it, and they weren't seeing him.
So what that makes me look at is I go back to that. I always have to reference this one damn Ghost Hunters episode because I love it. The princess room. And they were in there and they were talking to the princess that stayed in this hotel. And Jason and Grant, that's how old it was. And they were like, "Princess, are you in here?" And she's like, "What? Who's that? Who's there?" And like they were the ghost. And she was just living her life. And she was still at the time period. And I tell every new investigator this story because it's one of the things I want them to think about. When we train investigators, and anybody who's been trained by me, and a couple of you are listening right now, you know that this is one of those things I say. I always want you to keep an open mind because we don't have any damn clue.
Right.
And I love Tim Woolworth to death, and it was one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. And as smart and as well spoken as he is, he still don't know crap. I'm just saying.
Right.
The crap that he does know is so well placed, so well spoken, wonderful. But at the end of the day, he does know ghost boxes.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I'm just making a point. I could use anybody's name there from, Hans Holzer. I'm just saying, we literally don't know because of things like last night when I'm having to throw a quartz that went from being a quartz to a black burnt crystal because of a transference of energy. Mm-hmm. And then that's where I have to start drawing new lines, because I always use pencil in the paranormal.
Yes.
I never have used a pen because nothing is permanent.
Right.
And it's like science. It really is. It's not science. It's
nothing even resembling science.
It is not science. And that's a good point Tim did make, in an article recently after we talked about it, really was the Mel meters and the K2 meters and stuff, and how they really are open for, you can't use those as hard evidence, but the thing is you can use those to find hotspots or what we do, back up stuff. Mm-hmm. We always, use our own feelings, and it's like, whoa, I'm getting a tingle in my jingle. And we'll get like some equipment and come over and be like, okay, it's getting a 4.0. Mm-hmm. It's getting a 4.0 right on your boys. And you'd be like, okay, God, oh my God, and then we get all this stuff. And if they all add up, mm-hmm. Then it's probably evidence. And right now there's a train coming somewhere. And I'll tell you this much about the train. I'll tell you a Tim Clark story as the train's coming by before I tell you my favorite time slip. My buddy, my loving buddy, Tim Clark, who used to be part of On It South with us and every team back in the day, he had his train theory because it went with stone tape theory. Mm-hmm. And his theory was because of the area that we were in, in this area around here is a lot of limestone, and there's just a ton, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So he would, every time a train would come, he'd be like, all right, it's going to happen. Right now, it's what's going on? He's like, there's a train coming. And some of these places we investigated because we're in coal country, so there's a lot of trains. Mm-hmm. So he would, but it's a great theory because it would shake the ground, right? This monstrosity shakes the ground, shakes all the houses. So if it's shaking this recorder of this stone, mm-hmm. and there was such a thing as these residuals, mm-hmm. you would think that Princess Leia would pop up every time a train went by and be like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope.
Right. It's a solid theory, and things did happen. Mm-hmm. He was dead on with that a lot of times. It did happen.
Now, mm-hmm. is that because of energy? Is that because of that happening? Because of what he said? I don't know. I don't know. Is it because we all shut up and listened at that point?
Right, because nobody was being distracting at that particular moment.
Right.
Perhaps.
I don't know. Is there a little boy ghost going choo choo, I don't know. So here's my next one.
Okay.
This second story, and my favorite. I could have got this from a number of different places, but I really enjoyed how this one was written on strangeearth.blogspot.com.
Okay.
And this article was written a long time ago. Mm-hmm. It's like from 2008, but the story is so old. It's a timeless article, basically, if it's well written, A trip to Spain. I call it the Vanishing Hotel. That's just what I've always called it.
Okay.
I tell my paraphrase version of it when I'm telling people time slips, mm-hmm. but this is more detailed. A trip to Spain in the 1970s was still rather exotic adventure for many. In the 1970s. Right. But two British couples traveling there in the 1970s. Okay, so it's not that well written. They keep saying that.
Well, everything's scarier in the 70s.
Everything is scarier in the 70s. Give me a little love on that.
They're just trying to make sure you realize this is the 70s we're talking about.
Listen. All right, we haven't put out a new shirt in a while. It's a thing. All right, we've got to put out everything scarier
in the 70s.
What we could do, because everything was scarier in the 70s, maybe everything is scarier from the 70s. So a lot of people, a lot of Gen Xers,
gotcha.
They could wear. I don't know. We'll look at it, and maybe we could put some pop culture 70s stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
On there,
absolutely.
That'd be really neat, or some puffy, like some puffy paint.
Of course.
We should just do it in puffy paint and put it out there. Did you ever do that? Did you ever make
the t-shirts?
Yeah, put it in the oven.
Yeah, especially for school, like when I made shirts for like different things going on at school, like games and stuff like that.
That's really cool.
I don't think I ever had the stuff you had to put in the oven though.
Really?
Yeah, I think that I used just puffy paint that just was puffy.
No, you had the stuff you baked.
Oh, no. I never had that really good stuff that you baked.
Oh. Well, that's weird. I mean, that's just, I don't know. That's just, I remember that. Am I remembering that wrong?
No, I don't know. I've never done that, so I don't know.
Okay. That's just weird.
That is weird.
I mean, I'm the boy whose favorite toy was a cow named Milky that had a little. Did you not know that? No. Oh my God.
I never had that toy.
Oh my God. So Milky the cow was my favorite thing in the world. I loved my Milky. And Milky.
And you actually milked it?
Yeah. Milky was a cow that was, I mean, it was yay big. If you're, right now imagine I'm like showing some good sized breast with my hands out like that. Now turn the hands facing each other at the same width.
About the size of a loaf of bread.
There you go.
Let's just go with that.
Thank you, Stacey. So Milky was nice. And so I think you raised Milky's tail and lowered it. And Milky's little udders would, like. Was
it actually called Milky, or did you name it Milky?
It was called Milky.
And you got milk out of it by pumping its tail?
I'm pretty sure, but I mean, you still had to use its little udders.
Right. And, so you just primed it with the tail.
Yeah, and you there was tablets in there, so you could have it drink water.
Right.
And
it would come out as milk.
It would come out as milk.
That's brilliant.
And it was awesome.
Was there a commercial for that?
Yeah, there's a Milky commercial somewhere.
I don't think they sold that toy in my part of Virginia when I was a kid.
I had the little aluminum buckets.
I don't think it would have gone over very well.
Anyway, I loved my Milky. And
did you drink the
of
weird
course.
milky water?
There's nothing weird about it. It came from Milky. Milky's one of God's animals. What's wrong with you?
Of course, was it made of metal or something, or plastic?
You know what? I'm disappointed in you.
I'm sorry. I'm sure it was a wonderful toy.
All these god awful clown things you've told me about your childhood. and I had a perfectly innocent Milky that didn't try to disrobe me.
You're playing with your Milky, and I'm playing with my speak and spell.
Yeah. Well, see how that got us. All right, just because of everything that just happened. The beauty of editing.
Right.
So I had to look up the Milky the Cow commercial for Stacey. Stacey is dead set. She's going to put it on paranormalsideshow.com for your viewing pleasure. She's just all about this thing now. So here,
I just can't believe that's a real toy.
So here's the audio for Milky the Cow commercial.
Here's Milky, the marvelous milking cow. It's fun to milk her, gonna do it right now. She drinks the water when we pump her tail. She's raising her head, it's milking time now. Her pretend milk is a feeling the pail.
She drinks water and gives pretend milk.
Milky the marvelous milking cow. Milky the marvelous milking cow with pretend milk tablets. She's new from Kenner.
Her pretend milk is filling the pail.
Yeah, that must have been a very localized toy.
You know what you're gonna have?
I mean, the lips on that cow. Good gracious.
You know what? You're going to get so much hate mail. I am telling you that.
You think Milky was a hit?
I bet that our intelligent listeners are all going to email. And be like, you know what? Milky was my favorite toy.
So I get how it works now. You pump the tail so she drinks the water.
Yeah.
Then the udders are like rubber and you can really squeeze them.
Yeah.
And you squeeze it out into the little pail.
Tell me that didn't seem fun.
Now, I noticed that those kids in that commercial did not drink the milk.
Yeah,
mister.
I did. I drank the milk.
They called it pretend milk.
I mean, they wouldn't make that toxic, right?
I hope not.
I mean, I don't know what it could do, air loss.
Well, I mean, you didn't die.
No, I didn't die. I don't think. Yeah. So Milky was fun.
Okay.
Did you see how big Milky was?
Yeah, definitely almost bigger than a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
She's good size.
Milky was a good size. Fun at parties. Super fun at naughty parties. All right. So back to my story.
Okay. Oh, yes. The Vanishing Hotel.
Yeah.
I don't know how we get off on those things.
I don't know. So two couples I've lost my seriousness. So, 2 couples, 1970, Dover. Dover's a terrible name. The trip began in Dover, and at the beginning of October of 1979.
Okay. Yes.
Jeff and Pauline Simpson and their friends Lynn and Cynthia Gisby.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not some 1970s names?
It's definitely some 70s names.
Jeff and Pauline Simpson and their friends Lynn and Cynthia Gisby were to get a ferry to France and drive down to Spain, stopping off on the way for a break at any hotel they could find. That is how.
That's a good plan.
That is how, on October the 3rd, they found themselves exhausted and looking for somewhere to stay near the French town of France. It's not as easy as it looks. I'll give it to you, Stacey. The local ibis was full. What does that mean? Was there a bird there? They're just like, oh, the ibis is full. We can't stay here. I have no
Is this a translated article? I don't know.
So the local, I never heard this version. The local ibis was full. Damn it. But a helpful man, dressed in an old-fashioned plum-colored suit in the lobby, pointed them down, no commas, no periods, anything.
Right.
Pointed them down the road to a hotel that might be able to put them up for the night.
Who wears plum-colored suits?
Obviously, a
very helpful gentleman.
Yes, a very helpful man.
Anyway, continue.
It sounds like a song in a musical. He's a very helpful man, plum-colored suit. The road they traveled down was cobbled and narrow, and they couldn't help noticing very old-fashioned posters for a circus lining their route. They stopped at an inn for further directions and eventually found themselves by 2 buildings. One was a police station, and the other one was an old-fashioned 2-story building marked hotel.
Yes, makes a lot more sense.
Upon entering the hotel, they found themselves in a hotel bar and discovered that although the owner couldn't speak English, he understood their request. I'm just picturing them like doing the pillow thing.
Yeah, like putting their hands beside their
making
face.
Snoring sounds.
Waving money around.
The husband hocking his leg up on the wife, like, oh yeah, he said this. Wee wee. But they did understand a request and they got him a room, and after dinner they headed up to see them. They found the rooms to be clean but very outdated. Mm-hmm. There was no glass in the window, but wooden shutters instead. The door could be locked only by the means of a wooden catch. There was no telephone. There were bolsters, but no pillows. And the plumbing was antique. But though basic, it was perfectly acceptable for their purposes. Mm-hmm. A nice long shag.
That's not what that says.
In the morning, they awoke and headed down for breakfast. Mm-hmm. They were startled by the appearance of a few others at the hotel. One was a woman wearing a long dress and button boots and carrying a little dog. 2 cops came into the hotel wearing clothes, unlike as opposed to the cops they were used to.
I'm used to this naked ones.
Back in England, I don't wear clothes. They just call them bobbies. So these hotel cops, Jesus. I'm the hotel inspector. So these 2 cops walked in with a priest. Hey. Anyway, it's different outfits than they had ever seen
clothes
cops
that
wear.
they shouldn't be wearing.
Thank you, Stacey.
There you go.
The couples finished up and prepared to leave. They asked for one of the cops for directions back to the auto route. One word, by the way, and on to Avignon. But he didn't seem to understand the word, nor do I, obviously. The couples put this down to their poor pronunciation. He gave them some directions, which they later found led them onto an old out of the way road. When they settled up their bill, they were in for another not unwelcome surprise. And their bill came to 19 francs, which was about 1/13 of what they would have expected to pay. They inquired with the cop again as they felt there may be some mistake, but he assured them all was well, and they handed over the paltry sum and were off to sunny Spain. On their return trip, they were unable to locate this hotel despite finding the right road. And when they inquired at the Ibis,
It's a smart bird.
they were told that they knew of no such nearby hotel, and they denied the existence of anyone in a plum-colored suit ever working for them.
We would never allow a man in a plum-colored suit.
Especially a good-natured man in a plum-colored suit. What kind of man would be good-natured in a plum-colored suit? Right, Ibis? Right. The couples were forced to stay in a hotel in Lyon and pay over 200 francs for a room.
No wonder they were upset.
Yeah. When they got home, they found that the pictures they had taken in the hotel were raunchy. They were missing, and they weren't raunchy. They were not blank, not obscured, but gone.
Like they had never taken them.
Right. Exactly, Stacey. Thank you for clearing that up. And the reel had been filled with other pictures. That's the weird part.
Right. Like there wasn't even blanks. It just wasn't.
Yeah, no. They took pictures. Like they took picture 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Right.
But 4, 5, 6, and 7 now had pictures of flowers instead of the hotel. That's the way I take that. Just stuff they didn't take.
Oh, I took it to mean that it just didn't take the pictures.
No.
No. Okay.
No, the way it's. Let me read it again just to check.
Okay.
And this is you make the call. Oh, I used to love that baseball thing. See, when they got home, they found that the pictures they had taken in the hotel were missing. Not blank, nor obscured, but gone. And the reel had been filled with other pictures.
Well, that is the way it's read.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way they wrote it. So that's weird.
Yeah, that's very strange, isn't it?
Yes, I just took it to mean that as they continued to take pictures on their trip, it filled the roll up without those pictures in it.
No, I think
that's not what it says.
I think they would have noticed. Like, I think especially then, you remember back when you had like 24 pictures?
Right, and it counted it down.
You counted
and
you had the number on there of which you had taken. Mm-hmm. So you were really careful because you wanted to get 24 good damn pictures.
Right.
And
mine always had the thumb in it. I hated that.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, you get to, if you took 10 pictures, and all of a sudden you wake up and there's only 6.
Yeah, you're probably going to notice that. That's true.
Yeah. So anyway.
Good point.
They've been, I know people that are like not 40 are like, what are they talking about? What kind of camera just has 24 pictures? And
you have to keep track? What?
Why could you not just delete that and start over? Jeez. They've been back to visit since then, but they have found no trace of the hotel. Although somewhere similar was found a hotel, and they denied that was a hotel they stayed in. And they later identified the uniforms worn by the cops as those used before 1905.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, they've interviewed those people. Blue Million Times and everything, and
it's a cool story though.
It's a cool story. 2 couples like that, and
for such a long period of time,
right?
Like a whole night and the next day. So that's very strange.
Yeah, it's really, 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 really weird. Mm-hmm. And you just never know what you're going to come across like that. And it's very strange. Makes me think about something. Mm-hmm. And this is probably controversial, but it makes me think about it nonetheless. I've told you before, I believe there's PowerPoints.
Right.
And I think that somebody knows where these are. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm not talking, and this ley lines are, yes. But I mean, maybe there's something we're not told, The national park disappearances. Mm-hmm. What if these people are somewhere?
Right.
What if these people are right where, they're always like, little Bobby was right there with us. We turned our head a millisecond and little Bobby was gone. What if little Bobby, because, for whatever reason, what if that's little Bobby's in 1930?
That would be weird.
And, you know, it would be weird, yes. But, you know, maybe they always go to the future. Maybe we're going to catch up at some point to where someone's like, hey, I went missing in 1970. Or I don't know. I know it's strange and it's timey-wimey. But that was my stories on time slips. But, you know, I have a lot of weird little things.
I believe that.
They're all over the place.
They are.
So I've got some things that's just caught my fancy here recently, and it is like difficult to catch my fancy. So my fancy is
It's not really.
well, that's true. That's true. Little things catch my fancy. Look, shining light. So there's been some weird stuff happening.
Okay.
And then not just here. We know we've established at Casa de la Edriado that it's very, very, very weird.
Very weird.
But in the world, there's been some other strange things going on. Been noticing some skyquakes, and you know, I've got a lot of stations that I monitor. Basically, you know, I try to keep up with it, and that gets harder and harder as YouTube and, you know, people like Pinterest and all these elitist groups are coming out and, you know, censoring the internet
Right.
all of a sudden, which I talked about an episode or two ago, and it backfired on them a little bit, you know, and started really silencing the wrong people that they wanted to silence. But there's been some teachers get banned and all this stuff, just teaching history, you know, God forbid, teach history. But just some ridiculous stuff. And, you know, it's coming to the point, folks, where we're going to have to rise up. I'm just saying, you know, and I don't mean rise up and, you know, burn anybody or anything like that, but I'm saying rise up and demand. We need to vote people out that allow this.
Right.
We need to have people that have a backbone and will say, this is not okay. We're going to have to, you know, have some sort of alignment to our rights and the rights that we have with these internet companies. You know, in the United States, we would want to align that with our Constitution. You know, in some of our other countries where you guys are listening to us from, you know, there has to be somebody to police the police, so to speak. And you have these people, one or two people in a cubicle somewhere who had a bad day because their online fake romance didn't work out the way they wanted it to, or they cracked a freaking nail or something like that, you know, or you know, some dude whose puppy died. I don't know what the reason they showed up pissed off that day, and we're just like, you know what, this idea is different than my idea. And I have the ability to go, boop, you're gone, you're terrible, you're deplatformed, you're a nobody, you know, you're gone. And that's how easy it is. And these people, these internet providers, these content providers, they make their living doing this. This is taking their job away from them. And these are people that entertain us. So if you're someone like me and you like to watch these independent documentaries with independent thought, different ideas, not the ideas that some university came up with or some fucking network came up with. These are ideas that came up from somebody who's been on the ground, boots on the ground, or somebody's idea. I want to hear their ideas. I want that to be what it was intended to be, which is the town square. And instead, what they're doing is banning people. They are deplatforming people, making people nobody, making people disappear. And I don't care what side of the fence you're on. It's ridiculous, and it has to stop. And the reason I'm talking about it, and I'm talking about it like this, is because I want everybody to think about it. Everybody to notice what's going on, because I can guarantee you, although some of the people that have been banned are people that probably should not be marketed to, you know, impressionable 14-year-olds. But that's the parents' problem. It's just like any violent video game, any, explicit lyric album. I've got kids. And you know what? I monitor what they watch. I monitor what Ariana listens to. I know who she's talking to online. I don't have to snoop. I got a trustworthy kid because I raised her right. It starts and ends with the parenting. And I hate to get on the soapbox here, but it's not a normal thing for me. We're not taking political sides. We're taking the side of freedom. We're taking the side of truth. And we're taking the side of freedom of speech, of being able to have different ideas. I listen to John Oliver, and I will listen to Fox News, and I will listen to CNN, and I will listen to this and that in a wiffle ball bat. I'll even watch things that you would never even imagine just to get different views because it's important. I used to have a show called The Third Side. And the whole concept of The Third Side was there's always three sides to every story. There's your side, there's my side, and then there's the truth. I've never seen a scenario that wasn't that way. And, just going to, like I said, I'm going to get off the soapbox on this, but please open your eyes, look at this. I mean, they banned Project Veritas in 24 hours for absolutely just reporting the truth. Investigative journalism is all it was. Investigative journalism on what they were shadow banning, basically, what they were banning, what they were putting on their ban list at Pinterest that you couldn't link to. Now, again, I'm not telling you what side of the fence I'm on. And you know what? It might not actually be the side that got wronged on this. But at the same time, I think everybody deserves a voice. And that's the whole thing. You can't, they had all these X-rated sites that were on there and they shouldn't be linked to easily. And then on that same thing with these X-rated sites, you had like 30 X-rated sites. Then you had something for it was the anti-Planned Parenthood, basically. It was like, a Christian site, on birthing babies or whatever. I don't know. It was to the extent of that.
Right.
Not something I visit daily. But they deserve a voice, and they are not an X-rated site. And
I should hope not.
And it's put in there to kind of secretly get their stuff in, basically. So yeah, sorry for the one bleep in there, but I get really motivated because we do stay out of the political spectrum. We do stay out of controversial subject, as far as not controversial because we're scared of those subjects, but because, as we've said before, we don't want to alienate anyone, and we don't want to marginalize anyone. We don't want to, the only thing we don't care about doing is triggering, because we think sometimes it's fun to trigger.
We just call that making jokes.
Yeah, what some say is called triggering, we call having a good-natured rib.
There you go.
Because we still love you, Brazil. It's absolutely all love. But that's all I'll say about that. Hopefully you all are noticing that. So I won't have to say that. Now, the real weird stuff, as we'll get to now, and you know what brought all that up was flat Earth. The reason they grouped flat Earth in with all these things that needed to be banned was the weirdest thing to me that's ever been. It's just like, let's ban Nazis and blah, 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 and flat earthers. It's like, really? It's like, oh my God, it's really flat.
Yeah, that makes you wonder. Makes you wonder what they're saying.
But
so bad.
But so the sky quakes have been happening, the sky trumpets, and all these sites that we listen to a lot. There was just a big crack in here. I'll try. Let me say sky quakes, Sky trumpets. Okay, let's go see if it would do it again. Flashes of light. Mm-hmm. So there's been some doorbell cameras that have been picking this up. Even there was one in Virginia last week. And it's like the night sky just lights up like one right after another. These huge flashes of light. I think one happened in Texas recently, like Dallas maybe, because I compared it to the thing in New York, but this one wasn't actually a power grid.
Right, we talked about it.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Well, that's happened again in Virginia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's on a doorbell camera. This is something you could actually easily find, I'm sure. But it was interesting to me because then I was looking at the southeast coast of England, and on across the sea there, across the North Sea, there was skyquakes. And it was those things like if you go to Paranormal Sideshow YouTube, we captured in Maine. Mm-hmm. And, it sounds like someone taking heavy machinery through the heavens. Mm-hmm. It's very strange. And it's been kind of quiet for a while. Now it's coming back. Mm-hmm. So I've seen it across the world. I've seen a good 5-6 videos. I think that's strange. I think it's weird.
It's strange that there were a bunch of them and then you didn't really see any. And then all of a sudden there's a bunch of them again.
Boom.
Yeah.
So I put up a question today on the Facebook that was, have you experienced sky trumpets, mysterious booms? Mm-hmm. Please share your story. Mm-hmm. If you're just now listening to this and you don't normally get on the Facebook, please go to facebook.com/paranormal sideshow, join the conversation, get on there and answer some of the questions. Let us know what your viewpoints are, what your stories are. Mm-hmm. And if you have something amazing that you would like to share with us, please do. And I try to respond, Stacey, or I try to respond to everybody. Mm-hmm. If it's something private, send it to us in a message.
Yeah, absolutely.
We would love to talk to you about it. And we do. We have quite a few people that because they go from listeners to clients, where we try to help and any way we can. So anyway, I just wanted you to keep an eye out for all this stuff. And if you see some of this stuff, please send it to me as news. We have a lot of you that are sending things and from around the world, and a lot of this stuff I will never see unless you send it. Mm-hmm. Especially the way the news is being monitored right now.
Yes.
So if you have your local news and your local news is seeing a mysterious, if they're talking about a mysterious boom, or they're talking about this sky trumpets or skyquakes or anything weird, there's some kind of humanoid, there's some kind of weird lights in the sky, anything you think you find is odd, mm-hmm. and you may think we have it, you may think we don't, please send that to us anyway. You can send it to us on Facebook Messenger. You can send that to us directly at paranormalsideshow@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. And that's an easy way. That mm-hmm. goes directly to Stacey, by the way. However you want to send it, basically, we don't care. Probably the only bad place to send it to us is Instagram, because I rarely check that messenger.
I forget that you can get messages on Instagram. I don't even remember.
It's funny. I had a friend of mine who I can't say any names on this one, but he told me the craziest thing about Instagram. He's like, man, did you know if you find out somebody's Instagram password, that you can get their every message they've ever sent or received, every picture, no matter if it's been deleted, ever.
Really, on Instagram?
On Instagram.
It saves everything?
Yeah. And
wow.
And he showed me how, like on Facebook, to do the same thing.
Oh, wow.
And some weird stuff, man. And it's like this one certain little thing you can push. And mm-hmm. I was like, wow, that's crazy. that could probably end some marriages. That's just so you know, folks. Don't say we never gave you any good tips here.
There you go.
But anyway, Stacey and I do that every now and then just for fun, because we send each other stuff as role plays. But we do it as famous, like, paranormal investigators of the past. It's really
very creepy.
It's very creepy. It's horrible. All right. So another little thing I had. Mm-hmm. Cool little story.
Okay.
I like this one. So there's a story that came out, and I believe there was a piece of an interview they did with Courtney Love. Okay. And it was actually Interview Magazine. Very original.
Right. I wonder what they right about.
Yeah. I think
It's not obvious.
Whatever your interests are.
Right.
But no, this is a really cool story, and it actually Dread Central is the one that picked this up. But it's talking about horror fans love hard rock, but rarely have the two arenas, dovetailed as well as they do in the next item. When Courtney Love talks, people listen, and some roll their eyes. And it goes into her and Kurt Cobain and their relationship.
Of course.
But when she had a recent interview with Interview Magazine, this is what she said, quote, "When I moved to Hancock Park with my daughter Frances and then boyfriend Edward Norton, I saw Kurt in a chart for a moment." And I don't know, when she said chart, I don't know if that's supposed to say chair.
Right. Like it was a typo or something.
Yeah, so let's just go with chair.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I saw Kurt in a chair for a moment. He said hi to me, and then he left. And it says, I guess Cobain was never one for small talk. And of course, Kurt Cobain died tragically of suicide on April 5th, 1994.
Right.
And at the age of 27, whether or not the spirit is actually visiting Courtney Love is open for debate, blah, blah, blah. But I just thought that was interesting that, she even brought that up like that.
So where did she say she moved to?
This was in Hancock Park.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe he was just popping in to say, hey, I know that you've moved or whatever,
Yeah, I'll get you for murdering me. Not that that
right.
Not that happened or anything.
Right.
It's I don't know. I love though when in the world of music, sometimes you see the paranormal come through, like Lady Gaga, for instance.
Right.
You always hear about some of her paranormal experiences because she's a true believer.
Right.
And I always love having the true believers.
Yes. Yes.
And when you got someone with the star, and especially with some of the elegance that she's really had here recently, because really when she moved over to the movie star side of things, I got more excited because she's like an old school paranormal buff.
Right.
And, really believes in it.
Yeah, we've done stories about.
Oh, man, tons.
I did see a story. It's not about the paranormal thing, but it was a story from Sirius about a contest they were having where you could win tickets to her next concert.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You should go and throw KT meters at her and see, how that works out for you. But anyway, I thought that story was pretty cool.
Yes.
And, I have one more little thing I wanted to do, and it's simply for the solstice.
Okay.
I thought it would be really cool. Now, we're going to have to get naked. So it's a solstice thing.
Okay.
This is purely for the fact of it.
We do this in our underwear anyway, so it's not like
it's not a
big stretch.
Not a big stretch. So I just thought that it would be good to do something for the solstice, and I would like to ask all of you to also get naked. Do not send pictures.
No, absolutely do not.
Repeat: do not send,
and certainly don't upload them to Instagram and then delete them.
Yeah, because
they'll still be there.
Somebody will find them. So I have sort of taken a wonderful mentalfloss.com article, and because it was funny because I was already looking up this stuff, and then Mental Floss had done the work for me.
Of course.
I was like, how nice was this?
I know. They knew you were going to need it.
What was funny is I was looking up and I was doing 8.
Right.
8 things about solstice.
Right.
And for you. And when I was doing it, I found 15. So I was like, okay. So I went through and got my favorite 8.
Okay.
But I still wanted to give because we are all about that. And I wanted to say mentalfloss.com. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So anyway, here are 8 facts about summer solstice.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, little thing. So coming in at number 8, in 1902, a British railway system employee named Moses B. Cotsworth, sounds like a robot, Cotsworth, yes, boss, attempted to institute a new calendar system that would standardize the months into even 4-week segments.
How original.
To do so, he needed to add an extra month to the year. The additional month was inserted between June and July and named Sol because the summer solstice would always fall during this time. Despite Cotsworth's traveling campaign to promote his new calendar, it failed to catch on.
I don't know why, because that would be so handy, especially for your hashtag Bruce Wayne job.
Yeah.
Because you have 13 periods in the year. So if we had 13 months, that would just make it so much easier.
It'd be cool though, like June, Soul, July.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Just to think of. I like it.
It is a little weird, but I like it. I like the idea.
Yeah, like the 15th of Soul.
If we ever get a dog, can we name him Moses B. Codsworth?
Please. Absolutely, Moses B. Codsworth. Codsworth sounds like a robot to you?
It does.
All right.
Or a butler.
Or a butler, exactly. Next would be number 7.
Mm-hmm.
The world's biggest bonfire was part of a solstice celebration. The celebrations have been held in conjunction with the solstice in cultures around the world for hundreds, maybe thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Among these celebrations is Sanctans or Midsummer,
mm-hmm.
which is celebrated on June 24th in Scandinavian countries. Like, my
mm-hmm.
ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Scandinavia. I'm part of you. In 2016, people from Alesund, Norway,
mm-hmm.
set a world record for the tallest bonfire with their 155.5 foot celebratory bonfire.
Good gracious. I don't think I could enjoy a bonfire that big. I'd just be terrified it'd fall.
I would love it because it would probably look like a giant magician like that one did.
That's insane. Wow, that does really look kind of like
It does, doesn't it?
Gives a whole new meaning to the Lord of Light.
Yeah, it'd be very cool. I wonder what kind of crap you would see in that. And now, number 6.
Mm-hmm.
In ancient Greece, the solstice festival marked a time of social equality. The Greek festival of Cronia, which honored Cronus, the god of agriculture, coincided with the solstice. The festival was distinguished from other annual feasts and celebrations in that slaves and freemen participated in the festivities as equals.
Wow.
And that's, that's old school, bro.
Yeah.
Back in Greece. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that's crazy that they wouldn't allow that.
Yeah, it only took, a few thousand years to get back there. All right, so next would be number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Pagans celebrate the solstice with symbols of fire and water. In paganism and Wicca, midsummer is celebrated with a festival known as Litha. In ancient Europe, the festival involved rolling giant wheels lit on fire into bodies of water to symbolize the balance between fire and water.
Right. Like, did they light it and let it roll on its own?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody have to guide it with a
No, I think
stick?
they're like...
Oh.
Number 4. In ancient Egypt, the solstice heralded the new year. The summer solstice preceded the appearance of the Sirius star, which the Egyptians believed was responsible for the annual flooding of the Nile that they relied upon for agriculture. Because of this, the Egyptian calendar was set so that the start of the year coincided with the appearance of Sirius, just after the solstice.
Well, there you are. At least they had a good reason for it.
Absolutely.
It's always good when you have a good philosophy behind your calendar dating.
Number 3.
Mm-hmm.
In Alaska, the summer solstice is celebrated with a midnight baseball game. Each year on the summer solstice, the Alaska Gold Panners of Fairbanks celebrate their status as the most northerly baseball team on the planet with a game that starts at 10 p.m. and stretches well into the following morning. Without the need for artificial light, known as the Midnight Sun Game, the tradition originated in 1906 and was taken over by the Gold Panners in their first year of existence in 1960.
I had no idea people in Alaska played baseball. Doesn't seem like a place where you do a lot of outdoor sports like that.
Well, you might want to have the bat in your hand, though, when the freaking bear comes out from the, I don't know. That's why we do this.
That's really cool.
So
I thought it was all like hockey and stuff.
So now you know.
Yes.
Number 2. Ironically, the solstice marks a dark time in science history. Legend has it that it was on summer solstice in 1633 that Galileo was forced to recant his declaration that the earth revolves around the sun. Even with doing so, he still spent the rest of his life under house arrest. And number 1.
Okay.
This is my favorite.
Okay.
The name comes from the fact that the sun appears to stand still. The term solstice is derived from the Latin words sol, which means sun, and sistere, that means to stand still. because the sun's relative position in the sky at noon does not appear to change much during the solstice and its surrounding days. The rest of the year, the Earth's tilt on its axis, roughly 23.5 degrees, causes the sun's path in the sky to rise and fall from one day to the next.
Wow.
Summer solstice.
There you go.
And I wanted to give everyone a little bit of, midsummer fun. Mm-hmm. And there you go. So
I actually did learn quite a few things in that list.
Well, that's what it was for. That's what it was for.
Interesting facts.
And you can find more interesting facts just like that at paranormalsideshow.com. And if you're one of the cool kids, you also go to patreon.com, look up Paranormal Sideshow, and become a patron yourself. There'll be all kinds of cool stuff on there. Plus, there's going to be a new exclusive t-shirt coming soon on Patreon, and you'll also be able to buy it if you want to buy it. So, because I'm gonna make a few of our sayings, just because it's fun to do that and it's time for it. We need to get some more, out there and have some fun. However you listen, if you're listening on iHeartRadio, if you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on YouTube, I don't care where you're listening, iTunes, Google, Stitcher, whatever, man. Please subscribe. Hit the like button, definitely support us, keep it going, share it, let people know. Don't forget, if you haven't picked up your copy yet of Till Death and Beyond, The Haunted Journey of John and Stacey Edwards, that is available on Amazon.com. All you have to do is go on Amazon.com and type in Till Death and Beyond, and you will see our little green book with our beautiful faces on there, and you'll get a hell of a deal to get our first book. And can't wait for you guys to read it, and then you'll understand the second book a whole lot more when that one comes out, before you know it, because it will. But basically, that's all I have except for one thing, and that's the pretty lady.
Oh no, only the great Antonio can call me pretty lady.
Well, I thought you were saying that like it was a bad thing.
No. I just know that it's him.
Oh.
Because,
Okay. So here's Stacey with Paranormal News. She's the GOAT of paranormal news, traveling the globe to find you the stories you didn't know you needed to hear, and the stories she knows you'll never forget. It's time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, so let's get to the news.
Oh, let's.
All right, so this first story is about the moon.
I love the moon.
And this is about a mysterious large mass of material that's been discovered beneath the largest crater on the moon. It's the moon's South Pole Aitken Basin.
Oh, wow.
And they're saying that it may contain metal from the asteroid that created it, that crashed into the moon and created the crater. And this is a study done by a professor at Baylor University. And he says, imagine taking a pile of metal that's 5 times larger than the big island of Hawaii.
Okay.
I don't know how big that island is.
I mean,
It's kind of weird. You think you could find something else to compare that to. And,
I mean, seriously, like a state.
Yeah.
A state that isn't like a big sneeze of islands. Like,
right. Like maybe it's the size of Texas or,
Yeah, I mean, or half of Texas or something like that.
So the crater itself is oval shaped, and it's as wide as 2,000 kilometers.
They really like to put this comparisons in there, don't they?
They do. They say roughly the distance between Waco, Texas, and Washington, D.C.
Well, come on. They're just being ridiculous now.
And it's several miles deep.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, it's humongous. Now, you don't see this crater because
holy shit,
it's on
it's several miles deep?
Several miles deep. Yes, this was obviously a humongous asteroid.
I mean, that's not something you want to just accidentally, Wow. I mean, that's rough. I wonder what's in the, it's hard to tell what's in the bottom of that thing. If you were like some self, if you're just like walking along the moon is like some kind of like moon aardvark. I mean, you're just
moon aardvark.
Well, I mean, come on. If anything's going to survive on the moon, it's going to be an aardvark.
It's an aardvark, yes. I agree.
It's going to be like the one thing we're the least excited about. Because when they find alien life, that's what it's going to be. They're going to be like, NASA's going to call the Wednesday news conference, that you'll be watching. We'd first like to thank Commander Phillips here for
being one of the leads here, and Commander Phillips and her team have done an amazing job. And we also like to thank the Goddard Space Center, and we like to thank the big ass telescope team in outer Mongolia for their telescope. We'd also like to thank we do a lot of drugs here, telescope team in Norway for yours. Not to be outdone with the other Norwegians, we make blue lights in the sky telescope array. But we're going to get into our actual news here after we go through, and then like an hour later, they're like, so what actually happened is, we found we found life. We found life, and it's pretty amazing, folks. And we're going to actually show you this here. Don't be alarmed. If you've got small children or elderly people, please treat this as a roller coaster, and you need to be really careful. So what's going to happen here? We're going to show you this picture, and here it is. We call it Sammy. This is the first life we have ever found, folks. And like nobody's clapping. They're looking at the picture of the aardvark, and he's like, it does resemble an Earth aardvark, because one of the people in the crowd is going, excuse me, yes, fakery, CNN. Does that look like an aardvark to you? Well, nice question. I appreciate that. It does look like Earth's aardvark, which is making us re-examine the aardvark considerably, and aardvark role here on the planet Earth. I'm just saying.
Well, I do have to
Miles.
Yeah, Miles. I do have to admit that if there was one animal that they claimed came from outer space, aardvark, it's pretty weird.
Yeah, an aardvark is weird.
So back to the
reality.
Miles Deep crater. So basically, they found this humongous mass. They don't know that it's the part of the asteroid, but that is their best guess. They feel like that the metal from the asteroid is still in the crater, and it's causing them to pick up this humongous dense mass underneath the surface.
Yeah, but basically, it's an anomaly.
It is.
And they don't freaking know. They're telling us that it's from a meteor or an asteroid. But reality is there's a big chunk of freaking metal miles deep in the moon's butthole.
Exactly.
And we don't know who was putting their finger there. I'm just saying.
Right. Exactly. I agree with you. Yes. Because they're saying, it may contain metal. They're thinking there's a lot of iron and nickel in there. That it's possibly this, because this is the most well-preserved crater, in the solar system. But essentially down at the end, it does say, he says whatever it is, wherever it came from, they really don't know. And they've just recently found it. It's this huge mystery. And I'm hoping that with our trips to the moon coming up, that somebody can take a closer look at this thing.
Well, there again, I mean, it's weird that we've got all of a sudden you remember the telemetry thing, right? We would like to go, but we can't go because we lost the telemetry.
Right.
It's just really strange. And, it's one of those things where it's, because it was the 60s and all these years we can, on your phone has like double the power of the computers that sent those people to the moon. Right. On the phone. So can you imagine what the freaking, supercomputers do now?
Oh, I know.
I mean, seriously, what do they do? Because we don't have them. We can't afford them. Right. I saw a Mac come out the other day. There's like $30,000.
Good gracious.
I'm like, I bet that thing just clones you right there.
Yeah, I mean, it should hold intelligent conversations with you.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't think sometimes we don't think, and we'll get back to the moon in a second. Sometimes we don't stop and think exactly how far technology has come now. Okay.
So quickly.
Think about the 3D printing. Okay. Just 3D printing by itself. Don't put any other technology anywhere. They can print. They can create artificial, lungs and organs.
Yeah.
Okay. They can create anything in those things. Anything. It's insanity. It is insanity. Whatever you can dream up, whatever you can put into the computer, you can now have this come out, and easily. It's fantastical, and so that's why I don't believe anything they say. And this whole that just is a reason, so you don't have to use black money.
Right.
You can just say, oh, well, we figured out your telemetry again after telling you all these years. Look it up, folks. Look it up. After telling you all these years, we couldn't figure it out. Now we're going to send people to the moon and, figure all this out. And we really want to look in this miles deep crater for this obvious asteroid metal.
Well, and it says that whatever this is, asteroid metal, whatever, is hundreds of miles under the surface.
Wow. So not only miles deep, but then hundreds of miles under. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's way too far to. The only person you could send up there to work on that is Gary Drayton from Curse of Oak Island.
He'd find it.
I mean, he'd be like, that's a top pocket find. It's a
So they'd have to install a top pocket on his asteroid suit.
On his asteroid suit, on his moon suit, space suit.
Space suit.
Neither one of us had it. I was sitting here looking for it in my mind. I was like, moon suit, not sun suit, something like that. But Gary Drayton would be up there. He'd be like, that's a top pocket find, mate. He's like, it's a Bobby Dazzler.
He wouldn't be able to do his gold dance though.
Oh, he would. He would just fly away. I mean, they could put a net at the top of the miles deep crater. Why don't they just name it that? I don't know what it's called, but if I looked at that, I'd be like, miles deep crater.
It's called the Atkin Basin, but I feel like that's too deep to be a basin.
Yeah, that's not a basin.
It's not a basin.
A basin.
That's a hole.
Yeah. This is not a basin. That's into your life. I mean, do you know how far? Okay, look. I mean, do you know how far miles going up and down is?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a really long way. And I know that it's really wide, but normally craters, slope. So is it just like this big sloping side that goes down for miles and miles and miles? It's crazy.
You're roughly talking, you said it was what, 2 miles?
I don't think that they said exactly. They just said that it was several miles. So
Jesus.
to me, that's more than 2.
Okay, so basically like, when you're on an airplane, right, you get up to like 10,000 feet. Of course, international flights are like 30,000 feet. If it's several miles, if it's like 3 miles, it's going to be like 15,000 feet. I mean, it's halfway up there. That's a long way is what I'm saying.
It is. It's crazy.
And that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous drop.
I don't see how something hit the moon that hard and didn't just break it apart.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. It's very cool though, and I like the fact that they've just found this anomaly. That's also weird to me, but at the same time, it really makes me want to get that camera where I can just look at the moon all the time.
Well, you wouldn't see this, but yes.
I know you wouldn't see this, but there are things you would see, like the lunar wave and those little flashes that's been happening on the moon a lot. So interesting stuff. Thank you.
Yes. Well, hopefully I can follow up if they ever are able to try and figure out what that is or study it.
They're not going to tell you what it is.
No. I don't think they'll be able to even get to it.
I tell you what I want.
What's that?
You remember this is the 8th anniversary.
Okay.
Of one of your favorite stories. This was a story that when it came out 8 years ago, 8 years ago tonight, when it came out 8 years ago, you took off on Haunted South with this story. And it was a pencil behind the ear story for you. This was, you were the Linda Moulton Howe of the Lindy and Falcon Baltic Sea. For as much as she was cattle mutilation, you were the Baltic Sea anomaly, and you were all about it. So that went on. I think that damn thing went to the third side. It went that far. So I was just curious, and I asked Stacey before the show during our pre-stuff that we do. I was like, hey, could you find something on that? Because it is the anniversary. And the only reason I know that is because I was going through some of our shows and I was looking at, on this date. And I seen that one story that really was one of our babies. So I don't know. Did you find anything on it?
There is an update on it because, they've been studying this thing for years. And I believe the final story that I found was just the end of last year. And it's about claiming that they've solved the mystery of this Baltic Sea anomaly. Now, if you obviously don't remember, anybody, Sideshow listeners probably don't know the story, but they found this odd-shaped object at the bottom of the Baltic Sea, and it was roughly the shape of the Millennium Falcon.
It looked just like it.
Yeah, so that's sort of what they were calling it, the Baltic Sea Millennium Falcon. They call it the Baltic Sea Anomaly. And some divers went down there, the Ocean X team, and they would study it. They were trying to get samples of it, try to figure out this thing. They swear it is not natural.
Right.
And the weird thing about it is when the divers would go down there to get the samples, their electrical equipment stopped working when they got within like 200 meters of it.
Yeah.
Like their
I
stuff
remember.
just quit.
Seen video of it.
And they said anything electric out there, and even the satellite phone stopped working whenever they were above it.
Yeah.
In the boat. And then when they got about 200 meters away, everything just started working again. So it was very, very unusual. So the update to it was they got the samples and they sent them off to a man named Volker Bruchert. He's an associate professor of geology at Stockholm University. And he said that his hypothesis is that this object is just a glacial deposit, that it was formed during the Ice Age many thousands of years ago. And of course, that whole area is very influenced by glacial thawing and that sort of thing. So his official explanation of this strange object is that it's just an oddly shaped glacial deposit and perfectly natural.
Yeah, of course it is. So listen, I'm sure Ocean X agrees with that totally.
Oh, no, absolutely not. They claim that they do not agree, that it's not natural, and because of the whole electrical phenomenon. Because
they're boots on the water. I mean,
right.
They've been out there and they know that it's something weird. I mean, they've put 8 years into this.
Yeah. So I don't know, going forward, I don't know if they want somebody else to maybe study more samples, or if they're going to dive down there again. It's very expensive.
Well, nice work, Linda. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. But it's interesting you brought that up on the anniversary.
Well, yeah.
It's a cool story.
Can you believe that 8 years ago we were already like, you know,
doing this
Nat's deep into this? Like it had been like we were already old hat on some of these stories and
doing updates, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go on to our next story, and this one is about the Amber Room.
Oh,
this is one of your favorite things.
Ding, 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 ding. It's like one of my favorite things ever. Nazis.
So, for anyone who doesn't know the story of the Amber Room, it was a chamber that was decorated in amber panels backed with gold leaf and mirrors, and it was originally built for the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, and it was constructed in the 18th century. And just to give you roughly an idea about this room, it's very ornate, very beautiful, but it covered more than 590 square feet, which, you know, for your people that are not in America, it's 55 square meters. So it's very large, and it used over 6 tons of amber carved, and it was all carved.
Why don't you tell the kids a little bit about amber, because it's
yes, amber, very old fossilized tree resin.
Yeah,
not easily found. I think there's deposits of it, but it's not something that you just come across.
No, I mean it's you know what, millions of years. I mean it's
millions of years old.
It's ridiculous what you have to go through on that, and you know I mean, you're talking this $500 million room. I mean, it's just nuts, man.
It was crazy. And now the Amber Room, it was looted during World War II. It was disassembled and taken away, and nobody knows what happened to it. It has been lost. And so it's this huge mystery where nobody has any idea where it is. Now, they do have a reconstructed version of the Amber Room, that took forever to build. They started in 1979 and they didn't finish the reconstruction until 2003. Of course, I'm sure it was hard to get their hands on that much amber again.
Right.
But there is a, one on display that is not the original. However, a man named Bartlomiej Plebanskic.
Very good.
That is quite the name. He is from the Mamerky Bunker Museum. He and his team have what he claims made a breakthrough in the search for the Amber Room. And they zeroed in on this secret bunker that's located near the town of Wigorzewo in northeastern Poland. I'm not sure that's how you say that.
I'm not sure you got that
It's
one.
a Polish town.
It's okay.
So northeastern Poland, we'll just say that. So they used some professional georadar, and they were able to determine the location of an underground tunnel.
Yes.
So after digging up like the place where that device is, they found a hatch.
Ooh.
And what makes it interesting is they believe that this hatch has not been opened since the war because a tree has grown on it.
Yeah.
And the only way to get in it will be to cut the tree down.
Right.
And since the tree has not been cut down, hence no one has opened
They shouldn't have
the
told people
hatch.
that. They're going to have all the hippies out there now. They're
I
going to be
don't
like,
think they've given the precise location.
they're going to be like, now we really got a problem, guys. Because you're not going to cut this poor little tree down.
right.
No offense to all the hippies out there.
They're hoping, I suppose the plan is to cut the tree down and get into the secret bunker area.
Wait.
And they're hoping that they find the fabled Amber Room.
Of course they are. Finding the Amber Room goes in like clockwork with figuring out what Stonehenge was really for, with Easter Island and everything else. Who built the freaking pyramids and how they did it. It's like every few months something like that happens. Listen, the Amber Room's amazing. I've heard different theories on it. I believe there was a show I loved. It was kind of like low budge. And low budge is like a cool way for me to say budget because I'm cool like that. I don't know where that came from, but I'm not going to edit it out.
Okay.
That's just so ridiculous.
Maybe you're starting something.
Maybe I'm bringing budge.
You're going to make budge happen.
I'm going to make budge happen. So anyway, it was low budge. And it was, I think, God help me. I think it was called Myth Hunters.
Maybe, something like that.
I would go to bed listening to this show every night. I didn't watch the show, but I watched it in my brain.
Right.
And I would turn it on every night with Stacey. And I would turn Stacey on, and then I would turn this on. And the one of the episodes was the Amber Room. They had a lot of Nazi stuff, and I freaking love Nazis. Like, wow.
Not actual Nazis.
let me reframe all that there. I love the Raiders of the Lost Ark Nazis. I like the paranormal Nazis that they don't, I can't watch concentration camp videos and stuff like that. Like when I was in high school, that was John gets sick and leaves kind of time.
Right.
It's atrocities. It's horrible. It's like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, Himmler. I'm talking about haunted castles.
Talking about the supernatural stuff.
I'm talking about supernatural. I'm talking about the fact that these, that the world's most elite army and literally people, I mean, if they hadn't have been doing the atrocities they were doing, that look how easily they were taking over country after country. Go watch a video at some point if you don't know about World War II and look at how quickly they took the war machine took everything. Now, here's the thing. There was actually sympathizers even in the States, and you don't hear that much. Even the fact that there was buildings in little Elizabeth, Tennessee that had the swastika flying high on top of it when that was just a party. That was a political party, the Nazi party. And it just gained a lot of popularity because they were kind of, against immigration. there were certain things there, and it just turned into a mess. But in all that, even the swastika itself was all magic that they were obsessed with. And they were under the assumption that if they found all these magical things from throughout time, they would be able to rule the world. Okay. I'm not saying you can't.
Right.
Seriously. So there was episodes of this Myth Hunters show that was like the Spear of Destiny,
the Amber Room and all these, and there was just a lot of the Nazi ones. I guess it's taboo, right? So you don't hear a lot about these shows in particular, but I love it because it's just so weird, man. And that's why I don't like laugh and giggle when people say, well, the Nazis could have had it. And, then dude, look at all the scientists that we took from them. I mean, our government, for all the bad they did, Operation Paperclip is absolutely, it was a FOIA request, man. That's Freedom of Information Act. We know that happened. That was one of those conspiracy theories that became conspiracy fact. And we took von Braun. The only reason we ever went to space is because we took a German scientist. No, it is.
Yes, I agree.
And, von Braun's personal secretary talked about that back years ago, and this is documents you can find, was talking about they were preparing for a fake alien invasion. And that they had been working on it, that they had actually recovered actual UFOs. So if you're into the UFOs, don't be let down, because they're real. But they were reverse engineering, creating their own to do a fake alien invasion.
Crazy.
And we're talking the top scientist that we had at NASA, and then his assistant saying this. Now, you just don't say stuff like that. You're going to get killed, So it's a lot of deathbed confessions and things like that. I believe deathbed confessions. I think they're probably the truest words anybody ever speaks. But I can also say my wife, 10 years ago, when we first put in our words on record, is on record saying, I believe that there'll be a false flag alien invasion. I believe at some point the next big false flag, and by next big, because there's been, that's one of the things we don't get into.
Right.
But let's just say that if we're whispering amongst friends, we truly believe there's been some really big false flags that kind of propelled certain spying on your own people kind of stuff, where we were all like, yes, please. Can you please take all our freedom? We want to be safe from the big boogeyman, whoever that is this week. And 1 week it's somebody wearing a turban, and the next week it's a black man, and the next week it's a homegrown MAGA hat wearing, guy, and the next week it's some woman, and the next week, and there's always a boogeyman. And so they always, if you look at it, they always propagate this fear and this, they're always wanting everybody to be against everybody else. And as long as that happens, what do you not look at? The puppet master.
Exactly.
And, so that's just our beliefs in a really small nutshell, but just cool stuff. And that show, man, the Amber Room, the theory on there was that they had got it out of there before the Nazis stole it and hidden it somewhere and replaced it, and had already done that replacement. And like the stuff the Nazis stole was the fake stuff, which I thought was just as interesting. That would still mean it's hidden somewhere.
Right. Like it's still been lost.
Yeah, it'd still be lost.
It's still, nobody knows where
it's
it is.
essentially the same story.
Yes. All right, let's move on to this next story. So this story is about a giant Pleistocene wolf that was discovered in Siberia.
So cool.
And it's just the head. They just found the head of the beast.
That's what they're telling you. You're going to trust them with that. They're like, hey, we promise it's just the head. It's just and then before you know it, boom! It's the whole wolf, baby.
So they found the head of this beast with its brain intact.
Right.
And it's been preserved since prehistoric times in the permafrost.
Jesus.
So the Pleistocene wolf's head is 40 centimeters long, which is half of the whole body length of a modern wolf. So this thing is humongous.
Undoubtedly, I have a weird judgment of centimeters, because
it doesn't sound very long, does it?
Because if you would have just said 40 centimeters long,
I'm not thinking about a very big wolf head. But when you say, it's half the size of a modern wolf,
Well, modern wolves aren't really that big.
Well, they're not, but they're pretty big. I mean, they're not like modern poodles.
True. I mean, that's just what it says in this article. I don't know if that's a typo or whatever. It says 40 centimeters, and that a modern wolf varies from 66 to 86 centimeters.
Yeah, anyway, it's a huge freaking head.
Yes. And the important part of it is it still had hair and fangs and brain and tissue.
Yeah,
and
it was making a face.
It's like snarling. It's really crazy.
My question
looking.
is, where is the thing that cut its head off?
Exactly. They didn't even mention that.
Yeah.
My thought is, something took this thing's head off.
Yeah, like Yukon Eric is like 3 freaking, like a little bit down the road. But the scary thing, before you even get into it, I don't care what that story says. Because here's what's really happening. Those little Chinese scientists I talk about being ankle bracelet to the freaking table? They're sitting there and they've just let them loose on a mission. And they're on their way right now to steal this and to get like a little slither off of it. Because what do we never get? It's always like, well, we found this woolly mammoth and we have this. We have this DNA sequence, this DNA sequence, this DNA sequence. Basically, we have 1, 2, 7, 9, 6, 30, 44, AB2, and some Dr. Pepper. And, like every time I've ever listened to it, it's like, what was that last part, sir? Well, blah, 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 and juicy fruit. Excuse me? And it's just like, because they don't know. There's always something missing.
Right.
Because they don't have like that kind of perfect specimen.
Right.
So we have a perfect specimen, but God help us all. We get a perfect specimen on a giant, ugly, freaking frothing Siberian wolf that's making a face like...
Yeah, like it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
So the head was dated by some Japanese scientists to older than 40,000 years.
My God.
And so they're going to, examine his DNA.
Right.
And they claim that they want to assess, the physical capabilities and ecology and compare it with, wolves of today. There is no mention here of the possible cloning of said wolf.
Right.
However... It was presented along with an immaculately well-preserved cave lion cub that they've previously announced that they found, but they had never, actually shown it off. But they were both presented during the opening of this grandiose woolly mammoth exhibition. And we all know what they want to do with the woolly mammoth.
I'm telling you, man. I'll tell you who knows is Dolly. You remember Dolly? Dolly was
the sheep?
Yeah, Dolly was the first, well, allegedly the first. And, I bet you Dolly is like a master evil freaking criminal now. And they just, that's why we don't hear about Dolly anymore.
No, I know.
Dolly has like a big furry cat on her lap, and she's just like, meh, meh. It's just because there's no soul.
Right.
That was my problem. Back when I was like a really cool, trendy, sexy as hell songwriter with my band. And, I would sit there when I wasn't just trying to work on how sexy I was. And I'd write these lyrics. And I was very political when I was younger. And my songs, I wanted them to mean something. When they weren't about strippers in hell, I wanted them to be important. Because strippers in hell is important too. But I would write a lot about cloning. One of the few things that I ever wrote about more than women being terrible people was cloning. And I wrote several songs on cloning, including a song called Clone. But
it's very straightforward.
But my favorite song I ever wrote on it was specifically about this scenario with the wolf. And it was called Creator Unknown. And Creator Unknown was absolutely about us playing God and about it being the temptation being too good not to take it.
and how it's right there. And we've got all this temptation. We've got all the tools of God in front of us. We can create this world. We can create what we want to create. We can 3D print what we need. We were just talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you've got all the power, okay, and you're a scientific mind, which already probably isn't leaning toward compassion. I mean, hello, midnight rituals, you know, hello, CERN, hello, oh, we were just putting our togas on and doing a mock human sacrifice in front of CERN. I mean, the employees. Go back and listen to some of our old episodes. What scares me is if you create a human being, okay? If we create a human being, is there a soul? I mean, I don't know. I'm not God. I don't presume to know that. But it scares me that if you're not doing it by the rules,
Mm-hmm.
that if it doesn't have a soul, because of what we do as a calling, I'm afraid what would inhabit that vessel.
Right.
And if it didn't have a soul, I know these little things called demons
Mm-hmm.
that hate the human people. They hate us because we're in, and excuse me for the religion here for a second, but they theoretically hate us because we're in God's image and we are God's chosen children. And these fallen angels fell partly because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they despise us because we are his chosen people, and because we have this chance to live this life on earth, have these earthly pleasures, feel sex, feel love, feel all this stuff, die and go to heaven or hell. And so their whole mission is to screw that up, right? So so that's the plot of the movie, kid. And I'm just saying, so in that movie you throw in this creator unknown, you throw in this clone, and it has no God-given soul.
Well,
what goes in there?
Well, that's the point right there. Why wouldn't they want cloning to be a thing? If you could clone a bunch of soulless humans, they wouldn't have to possess people anymore. There's their vessels.
Right.
They could experience all the humanity they wanted. They could just jump right in those soulless vessels and
Jesus Christ, Stacey, you just wrote the best.
have at it.
Like we shouldn't even put this podcast out. I mean, if you were to write that book, what you just said.
Well, think about that story we were talking about, that article about, I can't remember if we mentioned it on the show or not, about the guys that came out and said that the government is working with inhuman entities and they think that they can control them, but they can't. And, and that's who's really running things.
Right.
There you go.
Because
they're trying to create a planet full of empty vessels so that they can take over.
Totally makes sense. But I mean, the thing about it is, even that person was like, they, like you said, they think they know it, but they don't know it because they're just feeding them full of lies. I mean,
absolutely.
Just some crazy stuff.
Yeah. That just sort of went all off the rails, didn't it?
Well, I mean, off the rails is a objective term.
Yes, I agree.
I think sometimes off the rails is what we're about.
Something to think about, at least.
Yeah. A lot of times the stories for me are the conversation catalyst of where we go with the knowledge we have on doing all of these stories for so long. There's a lot of knowledge that we have that we see story come across, and it's just like, wow, this brings up 29 other stories that we've heard of, and we know that where they're going with it.
Right.
So anyway.
All right, so let's move on to something that is a little gruesome, but different vein. It's more of a discovery.
Okay.
So this is about a discovery that was made in the spring of 2011 in Quebec.
Huh.
And a powerful storm swept over there around the beach, around the shore. And when they went down to document the damage that was made by the storm, they found children's bones.
Oh, no.
On the beach. So when they made this discovery, it just launched this years-long quest to identify the remains and solve this mystery of where these bones came from. So last week, the Canada's national parks announced what the chemical analysis of the bones, and they finally figured out where these came from. And this is such a cool story. So they've determined that these bones come from a shipwreck called the ship was called the Carracks of Whitehaven.
Okay.
And this ship was from back in March of 1847.
Wow.
And it had about 200 people crammed into it.
Oh.
And it was bound from Northwest Ireland to Quebec City in Canada. Now this is during the time of what they call the Great Famine, the Great Hunger. And it wasn't the only ship that was leaving Ireland. It was one of hundreds of ships that was bound for Quebec. And I believe in the history they say that roughly 1 million people fled the island during this particular famine, and tons of people died. It was a horrible time. But for this particular boat,
how bad did it have to be for potatoes not to grow?
I mean, and for sickness and all the sickness, it must have been horrible.
Potatoes, I think potatoes could grow out of a butt crack. I mean, just when I saw them happen in Maine, it's just like, wow, go potatoes.
Well, what happened was about April 28th of 1847, the boat had been on the water for probably about a month. And just as the ship neared the shore, a storm blew up and it knocked the boat into a shoal about 60 miles east, which is sort of like a sandbar, low area of water. And it just went to pieces in the course of 2 hours. And out of those 200 people on board, only 48 survived. And as they, came up on shore, the locals, they, came down, they found them, they, were nice, treated them and fed them and took them in. But after the storm cleared, when they came back down to the beach, it was just this horrible spectacle, just bodies everywhere. And so it took them a whole day, and they took carts and they just carried the dead, and they just dug deep trenches, and they just did like a mass grave for all of these people. And even, almost half the bodies were never even found. And so they put these mass graves, and they just covered them up. And the people that survived, they sort of just settled in the area, and the whole thing sort of went into just the local legend, the local lore. In 1900, St. Patrick's Parish in Montreal, they erected a monument to the victims, and they didn't remember exactly where the mass grave was, so they just sort of put the monument up where they thought that it had happened. And then in 1966, the ship's bell washed ashore about 360 miles away from where it wrecked. So they took the bell and they added it to the monument.
Right.
All right, so fast forward 2011, children's bones were found. Now, they weren't sure that they were from the shipwreck. They had to be sure. And like I said, it was something that happened so long ago. It was sort of more like a local legend.
Yeah.
But this woman named Isabelle Ribaud, she is a scientist at the University of Montreal. She's what they call a bioarchaeologist.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
I was just like,
I don't know how all these children's bones got here.
She's the one that's been working on this for the last, that's a really good laugh, for the last 8 years. And when she first received the bones, they were in terrible condition. They're very fragile. The sand, the salt water, the rocks, you just couldn't get any kind of DNA off of them, anything conclusive. So they just kept doing every test they could think of. And she told them that anything weird that they found in that area, call her. And so they slowly began to get hints from these bones. They realized that 2 of them were kids between 9 and 11, and one was between 12 and 15. It looked like they had rickets. They had a huge shortage of vitamin D, different things like that. And some people had called and said they found things like wooden buttons that dated it to that time period.
right.
So finally, in 2016, Parks Canada was restoring a road that was running along the beach, and they came across more remains. So when they started excavating, it took them months to excavate it. they realized that they had found one of these mass graves. This was still kind of near the memorial. So they unearthed 18 additional sets of remains. Wow. So this was a much better discovery, more clues, more evidence, and they were able to determine that the people that these bones belonged to their diet was very low protein and very high in somebody that would eat a lot of potatoes. So after all their testing and all the chemical analysis, they were able to come out just recently and say that these people were absolutely victims of this Carrick's shipwreck. And she said that it was very emotional for her to be studying this all these years, but she was really happy that she was able to piece together all the evidence to make an absolute definite determination that that's what these bones were from.
Right.
So I believe that they are going to reinter all of the remains in a special ceremony next month. The monument's been moved to more stable ground, so they're going to make another grave site for...
They're going to throw them all back in together?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
I think they're just going to... They have a total...
That was a nice way to put that they're going to have like the beep, beep, beep.
They have a total of 21 sets of remains. I'm not entirely sure how they're going to reinter them, but they are going to do it near the memorial with proper markers and, proper
Just throw
respect.
a 6-pack of beer down there. They'll be fine.
So really cool, story from beginning to end and how long it took to find the truth about
horrible,
that.
Yeah. What a terrible thing. I mean, the Irish were so they had really bad luck. I don't know where the whole luck of the Irish thing. As far as the slavery and stuff, and it's one of those things where it goes back to my genealogy and my my DNA test. I'm like, all right, I've got that much Northern Ireland in me. I can totally make the jokes, babe. Because it's when you get above 25%, you're like, all right, fine, it's good.
I have some Irish, but I don't believe it's that. I don't believe it's that much.
You had a little Irish in you. You want a little Irish in you?
I prefer the Scandinavian.
There you go. Well, there's a lot more of that.
All right, so let's move on to some space news. So here's a story about Europa.
I love Europa.
Jupiter's moon, Europa. And this is another one where they're talking about a key ingredient of life.
Yeah, and every 3 weeks, they're like, because you're the one that pointed that out years ago.
Yes.
That was one of the ones. That was one of your theories. You're like, when they keep talking about the subtleties, when they keep talking about, oh, well, there is, very, very, very possible places out there, such as Europa. And it was like Kentucky with the UFO sightings, It was like we always joke. It was like Nevada, California, Kentucky.
Well, Europa's one of those that they've earmarked as, pretty possible.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones they keep pointing out.
Right.
So this article is about salt.
Okay.
That they've found. And they're saying that sodium chloride, it's the main component of salt in the Earth's oceans.
And this was like table salt, right?
And yes. They have identified yellow regions on the surface of Jupiter's moon that they can believe is sodium chloride or table salt, which may originate in the moon's underground ocean. Now, originally, they didn't see the sodium chloride because the only pictures that they had were infrared.
Right.
And sodium chlorides, they don't show up in infrared.
Right.
So they recently got some new higher resolution spectral observations.
Wow.
So now they can tell that the salt, at first they thought the salt was more like magnesium sulfate, which is like Epsom salts.
Right.
But now they realize that no, those are actually sodium chloride. And they believe that this particular, because of where it's positioned in breaks in the ice, that they believe that it's coming from rocks and things down in the bottom of the ocean. Because they say that, they feel like there's like a hydrothermal
layer.
Yes. And that could be a reason that there would be life down there,
and
because it's very similar to what we have on Earth.
Greenhouse effect. It's just that it's happening underneath in the water, instead of like our atmosphere, like we've got the greenhouse effect going on up here, but it happens there underneath the water or whatever. And, maybe it's a water world type of deal. Maybe there's
Right.
merman.
Well, they're saying, that hydrothermal activity, because it's the heated water
Yeah.
that increases the chances that the subsurface ocean has a microbial life.
Dude, there's more to microbial. I mean, if they've got all those keys there and they've got the heated water.
Well, it just makes the moon more Earth-like than they thought before.
Right.
So they've basically just come out and been like, hey, this is what we thought. We were wrong. This is what it is. Now, it is interesting. I didn't realize that sodium chlorides are invisible in infrared light.
I don't think I ever cared.
And yeah, it's not something that
It's
you
not something
really
you think of.
that you really think about. So it's interesting that they got these new pictures and they came from the W.M. Keck Observatory in Hawaii, and they're the ones that confirmed that it is actually the real salt.
I mean, the thing is, day by day, we're talking about technology. It's like the technology episode, and every year, it gets better. Can you imagine the satellites they're sending out there with the cameras, what they're going to see? I mean, because for all these years they've been sending, we've been getting these black and white, grainy. Sometimes it's just a digital rendition of, ones and zeros that creates a picture.
Yeah.
Can you imagine when we get the actual high definition?
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be real crazy.
Where do you think they're going to find the life first? If you had to guess, which planet? Because, they talk about Europa. They talk about Titan. They talk about a couple of different places.
I hate to be so cliche, but I really believe there's life on Mars.
You think so?
I do. I believe there's life underneath the surface on Mars.
I agree. I think I agree with you.
I just, for whatever reason, I feel like we came from Mars. I feel like the pyramids. I feel like we're at least connected, and we used to be at a different era, more heavily connected. I don't think the aliens maybe is from as far away as what we think.
Right.
And I think that they're just some of the elders that made sure that life went on, and maybe didn't want the same mistakes to happen, didn't want those memories of what we did to each other.
Right.
Out there. I mean, that's really getting deep with that question, but I still think that there's remnants of a planet out there in between.
I have to agree with you. I think Mars, because it's the closest. We're already planning on going there. Do you think it's going to be like a microbial thing? You think we're going to be like, or do you think they're just going to full on find aliens?
No, I think it's going to look like us.
You think so?
I do. I think there's something somewhat like us, and I think it's underneath the surface. I think that they had to go underneath the surface. I think if you look at the evidence, there was oceans, there was lakes, everything that we have, and they were also close enough to the sun, everything that we have. And then you look at the remnants that we have out there that obviously looks like a planet got blown to frick up. And, was that once piece of, Mars, as it was that a moon of like a giant moon of Mars or something like that? And, when that happened, did that screw up the atmosphere and suck the atmosphere, which it would, if that was there with that. And, if it sucked the atmosphere off of Mars and made the water evaporate, made all this stuff.
Right.
But they seen this happening, like this was going to happen. There was an imminent impact, whatever. They go underground,
right?
With the right technology. I don't know. I mean, there's remnants on these moons out there of monoliths. There's, like we talk about UFOs have hieroglyphs. I mean, it's just so much that's connected that I don't see. And I still, I'm in that school of thought that the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid, that they are not from us. That, as I talked about before, that there's no reason, if the Great Pyramid was ours, why the ones after that would be so much less. So, like we never went to that level or that height of ingenuity.
Right.
And, and that's the same thing all over the world. The older it goes, why is it the older it goes? I don't care if you go to the islands on Greece and stuff. Why is it if the older that it goes, they've got these huge rocks. They don't know how they did it.
Right.
They're precision cut.
They fit together.
They fit together, and then you look like where the tool mark, right? And it's got the little deal in all of them, all over the world. It looks kind of like a T. And so when the rocks, and when they're put together,
Right. It's like a connector kind of thing.
It looks like a connector, like where a metal connector maybe would go or something. And of course, they're so ancient that that's not there.
Right. That would be gone.
That would be gone, and it is gone, but you still have these, and that doesn't make sense.
No.
Tool-wise and all this. So I think that the evidence is right there in our faces. I don't think people want to, I don't think people want to know it. You know, I recently had a loving debate with, you know, a family member that
was interesting.
And it's not to slam anybody's. It's just that it's just me saying, can we at least have the discussion that the interpretation could possibly be wrong? Can we at least have the discussion that the message is what really matters? But maybe some of the details, such as maybe a day wasn't a day.
Right.
Maybe a day was 1,000,000 years. I mean, I'm just saying.
Right. I gotcha.
And, you know, let's look at, I mean, we got this science, right? And you can't just take some of it. And because if when I am speaking of the Bible, but I also believe in, you know, God. I mean, it's just one of those things. I'm just saying, though, that I can't take all this at face value because there's some things that obviously just don't add up. And all I want people to do is have an open mind to things, because you can't look at me and go, well, this proves that the flood happened. This is science has proven that the flood happened.
Right.
Science has proven that this happened. Science has proven this. And then on the same conversation, say, well, science is stupid. There's nothing that old. There's, you know.
Yeah, it's like they tell you can't cherry pick the Bible, but then they want to
cherry pick science to back up their stuff. And my whole thing was, it's simple arguments. It's always been, you know, dinosaurs. You know, we can tangibly see dinosaurs. Now, when they first started finding the dinosaur bones, no one in the Christianity field wanted to accept the dinosaurs, and there's still a lot that don't, that say the devil, you know, put the bones down there and stuff. Yeah. So anyway, you know, that was a really in-depth hoax that the devil did, because we're talking, you know, freaking millions of years that. Right. So the dinosaurs it's another enigma that really feeds into the Mars thing. If Earth was more of a jungle planet with the big, large, you know, man eaters and everything, and something happened that made it more okay for, you know, man to be around. I don't know. It wasn't, dinosaurs were not in the Bible, because when the Bible was written, we hadn't dug up the first dinosaur bone yet.
Right.
And, you know, if we had of, because, you know, up until a couple hundred years ago, we had never, you know, officially dug up a dinosaur. And then all of a sudden, you know, boom, dinosaurs, you know, are a real thing, and they're happening. So I just think there's so much more to know. I think there's so much more to find out. I think you cannot turn your eye to science, because it is exact. And you look at like Göbekli Tepe, okay? Since they first discovered that damn thing, or first started talking about it, it's been one of my favorite things in the world. And now it's got worldwide attention. People know what it is when you talk about it. When I first started talking about it on Haunted South, no one really paid attention to it very much.
We had to explain what it was.
Yeah. And like the only show that really would talk about it was like Ancient Aliens and stuff. But there again, that wasn't even where I was getting mine from, independent documentaries. And that thing is still like, it's not even close to being completely uncovered.
Right.
And, you know, they're dating that back to right after the last cataclysm. But with that high technology, so somebody had that high technology, and all the animal, you know, like it was some kind of, and plus it has all these animals, it has all this stuff. It's definitely an important place, right? So 12,000 or 15,000 years ago, okay, they buried this place on purpose. That's the really nutty part about Göbekli Tepe.
Right.
They buried it on purpose. And that was a feat
to bury it.
Well, yeah. And how much did you say they've uncovered? Hardly any.
Yeah, which is.
I mean, they're still working
Yeah,
on it, right?
yeah, it's a huge site, and they were worried. ISIS got kind of close when they were destroying things. They got kind of close, and everybody was like really freaking out about that. But the thing about it is, I think, and I don't want to give an exact, but the last time I heard, I believe it was like 30% or 20%,
right.
something
It was
stupid.
not a lot.
Yeah, it was not a lot. And this is the kind of thing that the reason that you and I will go off about things is just because of how much is out there that really is, it's not as, it's a mystery, but there is some answers. There are some things pointing to at least the fact that we may have done this before.
Right.
And we may have connections other places, because the proof is just out there, or it's just flying around. So I don't know. And again, like with the Bible, I truly think that it's the message that is the important thing. And, I don't like to get in those debates, but the only reason I ever do is because I also don't want someone that, when I see someone, a Bible scholar that is so super intelligent, and they are, and they go to school and they can recite everything to you, and they have amazing skills and do so much good with people and turning people's lives around.
Right.
I don't like to see people that smart sit there and just completely crap on something that is by definition exact.
Right.
And proven. It's not like they came up with carbon dating or the 1,000 other kind of datings they have now.
Right.
Okay. It's not like they just came up with that and didn't have that peer reviewed a million times and didn't have that scrutinized and even with the different kinds of dating now. So they'll take all these different kinds of dating depending on if you're looking at dirt or rock or whatever. And then they'll put all those together to sort of get like, hey, what age does this say? What does age does this say? What do they just say? And they can pretty much get within the day,
Right.
And I just tell you, man, it's if anything, you see a lot of mainstream science actually cheat us on the date. They'll say, oh yeah, that's 2,000 years old when it's 20,000, that's the big rub now. So anyway, I'll get off that one, but
well, let me ask you this, because we were talking about Mars and you were talking about how you thought, the people went underground, and I vaguely remember, and you may know this, I vaguely remember hearing some kind of, I don't know if it was a conspiracy theory or what it was, but can you breathe on Mars without, like if you're on the surface of Mars and you're standing there, can you breathe without actual like oxygen spacesuit?
So no, because of Mars had lost its atmosphere.
Right.
Same reason the water was gone and all that stuff. So they say no. Yes, there was a conspiracy theory, and yes, there was some people that thought they seen someone fix a camera on one of the rovers one time. And like they seen the shadow of somebody beside a rover turning the camera. Like where it was,
I vaguely remember that.
The rover wasn't working, and then all of a sudden, like there was like this shadow there. And see, there's a whole space conspiracy of these people that were recruited, these kids, and a couple of them come out now. Some of them are like famous, like coast to coast type people that are on quite often. And they'll just tell you straight, with a straight look in their eyes, that they were part of this secret space program that absolutely was trained and would go on these missions up there. And,
maybe I'm remembering, because I do remember that, fixing the camera on the rover thing. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, because it was just like this vague memory of something about not actually needing, maybe it was just them being up there.
So I want to talk about this movie.
Okay.
There was a movie, and the irony of this is, as we were talking about this, I wanted to look it up because it was one of my favorite movies as a child. It was already old when I was a kid, so it was on whenever I wanted to watch it, basically. And it was called, because I love space movies and science fiction and stuff like that. So Robinson Crusoe on Mars.
Oh, I've heard of that. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, my dad loves it too. And of course he turned me on to it. And, but I love the movie, and it's a 2-hour movie, and it's slow paced. It's the kind of movie I love.
That's unusual for a movie that old to be.
I know
2 hours.
Well, it's unusual for a movie like that to be so, because normally they were shoot 'em up movies, like they're space movies.
Right.
Robinson Crusoe on Mars is amazing, and a weird thing about it, a couple things. So it was released as of us recording this 55 years ago to the day.
Wow.
To the day.
That's crazy.
And so it was interesting because we were talking about this, and I remember that movie because of the underground elements and the humanoids, and
yeah, because the aliens look like humans.
Yeah, and the slaves are humans. And so it was really cool, and they go, like, they have ways where they find water underground, and they, you know, there's stuff with the ice and all this stuff. It's very, like, all this stuff that's actually happening. And
right. We'll have to watch it.
Yeah, we need to watch it because it's just weird how it is. But yeah, 55 years ago, kids, go watch Robinson Crusoe on Mars.
Crazy. All right, well, let's continue with our space news.
Okay.
And I just wanted to mention this. This is about an interview that the president did, Donald Trump, and he was asked the obligatory UFO alien question. They ask the president all the time.
They were going to finally do it eventually.
So he was speaking with ABC News' George Stephanopoulos, and it was a recent interview segment, and during the interview they talked about the Navy sightings of UFOs that have been going on, that have been hitting the news, and he just basically asked him if he knew anything about it, if he had been briefed on it, and, you know, what his thoughts were. And so Trump basically said that he had been briefed, that he didn't think anything particular of it. He said that he had one very brief meeting on it. People were saying that they're seeing UFOs, and he said, "Do I believe it? Not particularly."
Right.
So, you know, he didn't really bash it. And he did say that our great pilots, that, you know, when he was asked if he knew anything about extraterrestrial life, he said, you know, I think our great pilots would know. And, you know, some of them see things that are different, and, you know, we're watching, and you'll be the first to know if we figure out that those are actually UFOs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he wasn't rude about it, but he didn't go into it in great detail either. And you know, he was honest. He said, you know,
let me say this. Trump could talk to aliens once a week and be completely down with the aliens. And if you're Donald Trump right now and you are in the media, are you going to say that you no, listen, are you going to say you believe in UFOs?
No, probably not.
I mean, they would be all over that like stink on crap.
They would. They would.
Because it's just some presidents are, they can say no wrong.
Right.
Some presidents, because maybe they are, you know, controversial. Will, you know, it's easier to pick on that person that is out there like that. And especially people that put themselves out there as like strong and, you know, you can't beat me and all this stuff. People love to beat those people.
Right. Well, you know, the thing about Donald Trump being very honest about, you know, not particularly believing in UFOs is, you know, if you haven't seen something like that, if you've never had an experience, the same thing with, you know, people that don't believe in ghosts or say that they don't believe they're real. If you haven't had that experience,
can't do it.
You know, of course you have no reason to believe in that.
No.
And even some of the best paranormal people, before they had their first experience that changed their minds, they didn't believe.
I mean, you may love it and you may be very interested in it, but, you know, until you see the shadow person run through your house, and then, you know, even with that, you know, there may be years go by, and you start questioning your mind instantly. As soon as you see something, it starts going, well, that could have been this or that could have been that. With ours, we couldn't do that, but with a lot of them, you can. But then you have like your experience last night. You know, that in the room thing.
Right.
You know, that's just too much. And so, yeah, I agree with you. If you've not seen a UFO, and really with the way that people make fake videos,
Right.
it makes it hard to buy it. I mean, it makes it hard for me. I can't even look at a video that's just lights.
Right. I mean, I think that you really have to see it with your own eyes. And it's like people that are always like, show me the proof, show me the proof. It doesn't matter. People like that, it doesn't matter what you show them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much evidence you show them, how much anything you show them, until they experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
You're just not going to be
never going to
a
convince
believer.
them, ever.
So here's just an interesting little piece that I wanted to throw in here about a new Smithsonian exhibit from the Apollo 11.
Oh,
and it's
I was hoping it was giants.
well, it's the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing coming up in July. And so the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum is going to start showcasing a host of some of their more stunning artifacts from the mission, which I thought was really interesting.
Some of the cool stuff from the Arizona desert.
Yes, exactly. And, there's the articles about the next moon mission. They're calling it Artemis because twin sister of Apollo. That's what the new mission is going to be called.
Oh, that's
Artemis.
awesome.
Yeah, and there's talks that there's going to have the first woman on the moon.
Yeah.
So, it's all very fitting. All very fitting. But I thought this was a really interesting story.
Is she driving?
And I don't know. I'll link to this. There's some
Trigger alert.
There's some pictures of some of the different artifacts that they're going to have on display. And they've also got this traveling exhibit that's been going around called Destination Moon, the Apollo 11 mission. It's currently in Seattle until September. So very interesting. And Smithsonian Channel is doing a 6-part series called Apollo's Moonshot, which premiered this past Sunday. 6-part series. And then they also have a documentary special called The Day We Walked on the Moon. So they're doing a lot of different things around this 50th anniversary of the Apollo moon landing.
Right. I'm interested in the moonshot. I don't know. It sounds terrible. I don't know why, but moonshot just sounds like something the astronauts would have done in the local bars. Those guys were studs, man. Until they all drove the the sports cars, and it was awesome. Every one of them had a Corvette,
right?
Which is so cool. It's just so cool because they were just so cool. That was on not Top Gear,
Grand Tour.
The Grand Tour.
Yes, because James May drove one of the astronauts' actual cars, and he was just he couldn't even get over it. He didn't even say anything about the car. He's like, "I'm driving."
I just think it's cool they all had this vet. They were all cool as can be until they came back. No, seriously, when they came back from the moon, allegedly, they were also messed up. They're also quiet and become reclusive, and
I'm sure it does something to you.
Yeah, it does something to you when you lie to the public. I don't know. Just crazy stuff.
Well, here's just a funny little story that I thought you would get a kick out of. And it's about Russia. And they just launched a toy car into space to mock Elon Musk. And so, SpaceX, Elon, he launched his Tesla and put the mannequin in it and dubbed it Starman. And it's still up there,
Yeah.
It's floating around somewhere.
His dead body.
So the team from Tomsk State University, they used a toy car for their mission.
Right.
And it was a replica of a red Zaguli that was owned by a man named Dmitry Rogozin. He serves as the Director General of Russia's Roscosmos Space Agency, but he's not a big fan of Elon Musk. He trash talks him any chance he gets.
Wow.
So just as like a little jab at him, they took the toy car and they put a little mini person in it, and they put the face of this Rogozin guy on it, and they launched it 150 kilometers into the atmosphere. But I feel like the joke is on them because it didn't stay up. It landed about 2,000 kilometers away. It stayed up for about 16 hours. So...
And Elon Musk can stay up all night.
Exactly. So I realized that they were trying to mock him, but it seems like they did kind of a poor job.
Dude, I'm telling you, that brother, he needs to have like his own cologne, like the Elon Musk.
Musk.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, just the Elon Musk, and because it's just going to smell like success, and they can. I mean, that's the whole commercial,
Right.
You know,
Right.
they can all kiss my butt, man. Elon Musk is he's my spirit animal.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of my heroes. He's a madman, and he's just because he comes up with these stupid ideas. And I hope you're listening, Elon, because
Right.
when I say stupid, I mean it with love.
Right.
Because, you know, we need people like Elon Musk that have ridiculous amounts of money and, you know,
I just love him because
ingenuity.
he thinks of something. He's like, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Like it could be the most ridiculous idea. Didn't we do an article about him making flamethrowers or something
Yeah.
that you could buy to use in
Well,
your
it was like those tunnels he
house?
made. I mean, you know, because of traffic. It's just, I mean, I love this guy. I really do.
right.
It's the only thing I don't like about him is I'm not a big fan of electric cars because I'm a big fan of the combustion engine
Right.
and
right.
and having control. I don't like self-driving cars. I like the control of, you know, the joy of driving.
Right. It's kind of lost.
And you know, it's I don't think that's something that should ever go away. There's technology, and then there's technology, and that's a John original, by the way, where they take away
Right.
something good for the sake of advancement or the sake of. I hate when it's just technology for the sake of technology.
Right. I got you.
And when there's nothing wrong with what we got, you know, and that's like one of the big things right now is I never thought I would see, since this has been the technology episode,
Right.
I've never thought I would see the fact when we get to the point where we could pick what kind of kid we want,
Right.
like with genes and stuff, like where we could be like, well, I want this kid to be, you know, good at this or good at that. That is another terrifying
I agree.
thing.
I agree.
Because, you know, some of our best, the best of us are the freakiest looking. I'm serious. Are the
agree.
freakiest looking, are the outcast, are the non-perfect. And I believe a lot of times that you become who you are because of the struggles you endure.
Exactly. Well, sometimes those non-perfect anomalies are what make you amazing. Like Freddie Mercury from
Right.
Queen. You know, one of the reasons he had such
His
an
incisors.
amazing range was because of the issue with his teeth. So I don't know. I don't think that we should be able to
I'm one of those.
edit and pick our kids.
I'm one of those people that can find beauty in imperfection.
Right. Right.
Because I do not personally subscribe to the popular view of what beauty is.
Right.
Even with what I think a beautiful woman is. You know, I think a beautiful woman is the woman that's kind and thoughtful and smart, and, you know, just that's really, and it sounds like I'm trying to win a feminism award.
Right.
But truly, one of the last things I ever worry about is body.
Well, see, the problem with that is, you know, parents, they're going to pick all the best things. You know, if you could pick what you wanted for your kid, everybody's going to pick all the best things and have a kid that's super special. So, you know, what happens when everybody's special? Nobody's special.
Yeah.
Because everybody's the same.
No,
exactly.
exactly.
So, you know, I don't know.
It isn't weird how life imitates art. You know, really, I mean, because you look at all these movies, like a lot of these teenage movies, especially over the last 10 years, 15 years, since the craze of Harry Potter created things like Twilight and stuff. And you look at these movies like where the kids were all the same, and they had the letters and that they grouped them or whatever. And then some of them had all of it. I can't think what that is.
Oh,
You loved
Divergent.
it. Yeah, you loved it. You loved the books. Anyway.
I like the books.
That reminds me of that somewhat. You know, and you'll have this group of people that didn't get to pick, and they're going to be underground in the old cities, and you know, that kind of thing. Probably going to be the smartest of all of them. But
Right.
crazy stuff, buddy.
All right, so let's go on to this next story. It's about a discovery.
Okay.
So this is about a discovery about hundreds of monuments known as crannigs that have been found so far, sort of are off the coast of Scotland, in that kind of area.
Aye.
And for decades, they presumed that they were constructed in the Iron Age, around 800 BC.
Aye.
So this doctor named Dr. Duncan Garrow, he's from the University of Reading. He has been studying these crannigs for years, and he teamed up with former Navy diver, his name's Chris Murray. And in 2012, they were diving around these crannigs. I mean, there's hundreds of them. And they were studying them and looking at, them. And what a crannig is it's a platform built in the water where it just barely sticks up out of the water. We're talking about huge stones, megalithic type stones. And they've been put in the water, man-made, also made with timber. And there's roughly about 600 that survive today, and they just peek above the water in the locks, and they don't really know what they're used for. But this Dr. Garrow and this diver,
When were they created?
well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
They believe that they had been created in the Iron Age, about 800 BC.
Why have I never heard of these? Just because we're not from Scotland?
Probably because we're not from Scotland.
Okay.
Yes. So they were diving around a few of these different crannigs, and they found a treasure trove of well-preserved Neolithic pottery. And we're talking about not just one or two pieces. We're talking about a ton of this pottery.
Right.
And it was purposely placed around under the water in these crannigs. So after doing some radiocarbon dating,
Sounds like a funeral.
it suggested that the items were intentionally placed and that they were 5,500 years ago. So it's redated these crannigs to much older. They've roughly dated them back to about 3,700 BC, which predates Stonehenge.
Well, they say it does, but yes.
Right. They say it predates Stonehenge.
Right.
So instead of being Iron Age, they're Neolithic, which is a huge surprise since they have no idea what these are for and they have no idea how they made them.
Dude, that's like crazy. That's like what, 3,000 years older? I mean,
Yes, much older than what they originally thought.
and when they get that far, they don't freaking know.
No, and-
it could be 30,000.
Well,
I mean,
the thing about them is they're not funeral things. Like there's no burials or anything like that.
it sounds like funeral things.
Well, they're in the water, so it could have been a place to
Right.
do a funeral, and then they sent them off in the boat or something.
I just don't understand why they would be so exactly placed. Like, that's
Right,
what's
like
weird.
the pottery and things.
Yeah.
Now they've only had a chance to study and date like 4 or 5 different ones. So they're continuing to go through. Like I said, there's hundreds of them, and they have absolutely no idea what they're for. And they just feel like they are very special areas where they did maybe rituals, maybe
It's really cool.
coming
All
of
the
age
magic that was
things.
done, around then, especially there. And I really like to know what those are for. That's crazy.
Yes, and they believe the little islands were used by the locals for thousands of years, but they've kind of been abandoned now. Nobody really uses them anymore. So
Right.
they've just been studying to try and see. I'm curious if they're going to find even older ones eventually
Right.
as they go on with their little search. But I thought it was kind of really interesting because you just never know. Like here for decades, they've thought these were one age, and somebody decides, oh, hey, I'm going to look into that, and
Yeah.
bam.
Well, that just goes
Super old.
I mean, just people always, okay, that sounds good. I'll go with that.
Sure, Iron Age, whatever. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I'm curious. I hope they figure out what they actually used them for, because they're not, they're just out in the middle of the water. It's not like there's a lot of space there.
I mean, I just now got to see a picture. How did they do that?
I mean, I don't know. And why? And what gets me is they said that all the pottery they found was purposely placed.
Right.
Makes it sound like they put it, like, how would they get it under the water up against that thing?
How
so
would they
perfectly?
get all that out there to make that?
Yeah, and
Then
I don't know, because when you start putting the rocks out there, you're just pushing them into the water.
I mean,
Because the
yeah.
only part that's sticking out is just a very little
I
bit
mean,
at the top.
it's hard to imagine taking time away from hunting and gathering to.
Right.
I hate that worse than anything. That we're just so stupid. That
We just hunted and
we just
gathered.
hunted and gathered. At least there's sex in there. Like that just bothers me. Be like hunted, humped, and gathered.
I All right, well, let's move on to, this is kind of a nice story. It's pretty cool. It's a cool picture. So this is about a woman who recently lost her beloved golden retriever named Wagner.
Oh, what a cool name.
He was 12 years old. So, he lived a long time for a dog. And, she had him cremated after he passed. And she took the ashes to one of the dog's favorite spots,
right,
and was going to spread them. And she asked her friend to come along and take a photo, as she did it. So the photo is pretty amazing.
Right.
So she threw the ashes, the friend snapped the photo, and I'm just going to show this to you. And this is what the ashes looked like when she threw them.
Oh my God. That looks like a golden retriever.
It does. It looks like a dog jumping.
It looks like a dog jumping. It looks like a golden retriever jumping.
Mm-hmm. And you can clearly see the legs, the tail, the head. So like the ashes sort of made this shape that looks just like a dog.
Absolutely don't believe in, coincidence. And
no, I just think it's amazing. And it actually made her feel a lot better, because she felt like it was, Wagner's way of saying one last goodbye, and, kind of thanks for, following through with this.
Creepy, Wagner. No, that's amazing.
Isn't that crazy? I love that.
It
picture.
really is. I just don't see how. I don't know.
You wouldn't think ashes would. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
It's beautiful, and what a touching, loving, wonderful thing she always has. She, I would get the big poster size and have that all over my. I'd almost have it painted,
Yeah, and definitely have it hung up. So, all right. Well, let's move away from the heartwarming, touching dog ashes story to something a little creepier. Okay. So this is about some biologists who have discovered an underwater octopus city.
No.
And they're calling it Octlantis.
No, not Octlantis.
Octlantis.
Sounds like a sci-fi movie.
So this is in an area called Jervis Bay. It's on the coastline of eastern Australia.
Of course it is.
Of course. And Octlantis features dens made out of piles of sand and shells, and it's the home of up to 15 of these octopus.
Wow.
And they recorded...
I bet they got monocles and drink tea.
They recorded 10 hours of video footage of the site. No, the biologists.
Damn, they are smart.
And what they caught was these octopus. They're called gloomy octopuses. That's like the kind
of emo octopus.
They're not sad. That's just the name of them. They're
listen to some Morrissey.
They're meeting up. They're living together, communicating with each other, chasing unwelcome octopuses away.
Well, they're already way above millennials.
They chased unwelcome octopuses away.
Right.
Like the cheerful octopuses, I guess. And even evicting each other from dens. So it's kind of a rough place to live. It's like a tough neighborhood.
Yeah.
And what makes this so unusual is that an octopus is a very solitary creature.
Yeah.
Like basically they live alone, they mate, and then they go there, they go alone again.
Right.
They are not animals that
They're
live
smart
together. They are so smart. And in this Jervis Bay, there was another octopus city that was discovered back in 2009. That one they called Octopolis.
Wow. I wonder how the octopus would feel about these names.
I don't know. And there are videos. I'm going to link to this because that discovery, they sort of discovered what they call an octopus fight club, where they would see the octopus fight each other. Oh, sorry.
It's the
first rule of Octopus Fight Club. They would see octopus fight each other, and they have a video of one octopus sneaking up on another octopus and using shells as a weapon.
Wow.
To fight this octopus, and by means of it went up to where this whole shell bed was, and it expelled water really quick and threw all of these shells over onto the other octopus, which they were just completely amazed at. So they don't really know what is causing these octopus to live in this group. They have a couple of theories. One is that, this particular area, there's not a lot of rocks and things, except for in these areas, there's some outcroppings and there's a huge food supply there. So they feel like maybe they all live there out of necessity, like because there's not anywhere else to be. But also they say that perhaps these have always happened and they've just not seen them before. It's really hard to tell. But, we did have that story recently about, and we like to reference it, about how they claim that octopuses possibly came to Earth from space as frozen eggs millions of years ago, because octopus are weird.
Because they don't add up with anything else.
No, like their evolution on Earth was very quick. Like it's like no octopus. Oh, look, all these really intelligent octopus.
Right.
And, they can do amazing things. And that led me to making a list of my own.
Awesome.
So I have made a list here of 8 things that an octopus can do that should possibly terrify you.
Well, I'm sure it will. I mean, octopus terrify me anyway.
Yes. Well, I thought this would be a fun little list to go over because you might learn something. You never know.
You never know.
So these are in no particular order. The first one is mimic other animals.
Right.
Now, there is a certain species of octopus called the mimic octopus, and it does exactly what its name suggests it can do. And at a moment's notice, it can rearrange its body into a whole new shape. It can puff up and turn purple. Mm-hmm. It can curl up and run along the ocean floor on 2 of its arms. It can get, I think I saw a video where it backed into a hole and stuck 2 tentacles out and it looked like a sea snake.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's really crazy. Currently, it's known to mimic at least 19 different species. So it's kind of the way it keeps predators away. Like just mimics other animals.
That's weird, man.
It is. You have to Google the videos and watch it because it's ridiculously crazy.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I never heard of that.
No, and it was just discovered recently. Like it's not something that's been known
Probably
for a very long time.
Probably because I thought it was something else every time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really, really weird.
Well, another thing, number 2, that an octopus can do, use tools.
Okay.
So octopuses have been observed doing everything from using bits of wood to pry open clamshells to opening childproof jars.
Right.
And there's even video where an octopus grabs 2 coconut shells and uses them to construct
act like a horse?
makeshift. Yes, just like in Monty Python.
Right.
Uses them to construct a makeshift shelter for himself because he didn't have anywhere to go.
Was it normal coconut or was it?
I believe it was a normal coconut, yes.
Okay.
So they're like it was building its own house.
Can I ask you another question?
Yes.
What was coconut doing at the bottom of the ocean?
I am not sure. Maybe somebody was on a boat, ate a coconut, chucked the shell over.
Okay.
I mean, that's a logical thing that could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So number 3, now this is something that I had never seen and didn't know, but there are certain species of octopus that can walk on land.
Oh.
Yes.
No.
Yes, and apparently they do it all the time. Now, it's just a specific species, but it's really terrifying to watch if you watch the video. It uses its suckers to latch onto the rocks, and it drags itself between pools of water, and it eats stuff on the way. It's really crazy.
Does it have to eat stuff on the way? Is it like Pac-Man?
I don't think it has to, but it's an octopus.
Yeah.
So if you're crawling along and you crawl over some food type substance, you may as well just eat it as you go, right?
I didn't know if it was like very weird.
All right, number 4. So this one, they can squeeze through virtually any gap.
Yes, I know, because of a stupid, horrible video.
I mean, we're talking a couple of inches because they have no skeleton.
Yeah.
So all they need is just a couple of inches. And they can go down drains. They can get out of just any little. The video you saw was the boat.
That fishing boat.
Yeah. Oh, and it's really weird.
It's a fishing boat, and it's freaking horrible to watch. I don't think it's 2 inches. I think it's 1 inch, and it's a big giant octopus, and it just goes through and it's so disgusting because it looks like it should hurt.
Yes, but it doesn't.
It doesn't.
All right. So number 5, they have super strength. Now, I don't know if you know this, but even though there's no skeleton, an octopus is really, really strong.
I wouldn't think that.
And they can, powerful enough for acts of extreme brutality. And there's even a video of a lone octopus taking on sharks.
Wow.
Like you can see it wrapping itself around a shark and winning.
Wow.
like actually taking it on. So it's really ridiculous. And because they don't have, the bones,
Right.
they have almost infinite range of motion.
Oh gosh.
So it's really insane how strong they are.
Yeah, that's ugh.
Yeah. All right. So number 6, they can learn by watching. So scientists have found that an octopus can copy the behavior of one another and learn new skills in the process. So if one octopus can figure out how to lift something up and get food or whatever, and all the other octopus watching, then they can learn how to do that as
Wow.
well. So we already know that they're super smart, but that's really
That's
an
next
advanced
level.
skill for a sea creature.
Yeah, that's like orangutan level.
Yeah. So number 7, they bear grudges. And this is kind of an interesting story. There was an article in this magazine called Orion Magazine, and it recounted the story of this female worker at an octopus aquarium, which is a creepy place to work.
Yeah.
Just want to say.
Yeah.
And so they had
Didn't
this.
know they had those.
They had this male giant Pacific octopus. His name was Truman. And he decided he didn't like this woman. So every time she would come by, he would squirt water at her anytime she was near and just soak her. So after a while, she quit the aquarium.
Right.
And months passed, and Truman never soaked another person. And it's months and months. And then almost a year later, that woman returned to the aquarium for a visit. And as soon as she walked by
Wow.
that tank, the octopus drenched her with water.
I wonder what she did to it.
I don't know. I mean, I think she poked it or
Peed on it?
or I don't know. Maybe he was just very intuitive, and maybe she wasn't a good person, and
Maybe.
he just didn't like her. I don't know, but it's scary that they can remember, like pick people out, remember them, and if they don't like them, continually not like them.
Dude, they're people. I mean, they're got to be aliens.
All right, so the last one, number 8, amazing camouflage. And I saw this video in this article about this one octopus, and somebody had said, the scientist said, you could be looking directly at an octopus and not even know
Yeah.
that you're looking at it. It is an amazing way that they camouflage themselves. Of course, they can change their color slightly, but they can also change the way their skin looks and feels.
Wow.
For instance, if they are hiding around some bumpy rocks or a bumpy plant, they can use muscles under their skin to make their skin bumpy,
Oh, wow.
to perfectly blend in with their surroundings. So, I mean, I don't know. That is some scary stuff. That is not something that should be able to
even
be
possible,
done
yeah.
by an animal.
No, you're right. I mean, it seems like it really is possibly something from another planet.
Yes, very, very alien. And I learned something when I was looking up this list of things octopus can do, that their arms are called arms and not tentacles.
That's weird.
And it is weird. And the reason that they say it's like that is because arms have suckers all the way up,
Right.
like an octopus. Tentacles only have suckers on the end. So technically an octopus has arms, not tentacles.
That's wild.
But it's crazy because the way an octopus's brain works, they have like a little mini brain. That's not really what it's called. In each arm can work independently. Like it has like a mind of its own.
That's nuts. And that's weird that they have little mini brains. Like
Yeah, it's just like a collection of neurons or whatever, but it's almost like having just like a little mini brain in each arm. So
I'm pretty confident I have one of those in one of my appendages.
Not your arm.
Well, I mean, you can call it an arm. Sometimes I've had it referred to as a baby's arm, holding an apple.
Oh God.
But
Okay. I'll confirm that for you. Yeah. Okay. Let's continue. So just to round out this whole octopus discussion, I'm going to give you just a couple little stories of some creepy things that octopuses have done.
let me tell you guys something. I want to tell you guys something really funny. So Stacey doesn't hate anything, but she has such a disdain for these octopus that she came prepared with 2 full-fledged lists that took up several, like a whole half a book of, she could have wrote these reasons to avoid all octopus, kill all octopus, but she's actually giving you just highlights here. But I mean, all very interesting stuff, and I think you creeped everybody out sufficiently with the. I think you had us at the mimicker.
Yeah, that one, and you have to watch that video. That one's just really, really crazy. So I have a couple of these stories that I'm going to give you two that I thought were really funny and just proved how smart an octopus is and scary.
Okay.
So this was a story that was online that somebody wrote about his friend's dad, who was a marine biologist and worked with a lot of octopuses. And just for the record, it is octopuses not octopi.
That's not right.
Yes, and I didn't understand that either until I looked into it. The reason that it's octopuses is because the word octopus is Greek.
Yeah.
So the plural is octopuses. A lot of people mistook it for a Latin word like syllabus.
Yeah.
And if it was Latin, then it would be octopi. But technically, I mean, and he's correct. Either one's correct. It's people got it wrong for so long. They just let him do it.
It's all Greek to me.
But it's octopuses. I just like saying it anyway. All right. So marine biologists worked with octopuses a lot. And there was this one octopus that, he told them about that when it got hungry, it would climb out of its tank and go to this nearby container full of live crabs. Now, the biologist, he noticed that some of his crabs would go missing. He was short on crabs and he couldn't figure out how they were getting out. So he set up a camera, and what he discovered was that this octopus, when it got hungry, would climb out of its tank and go to this nearby container full of live crabs. He would unscrew the top of the container, steal some crabs for his dinner, but then he would screw the cap back on the container and get back in his tank. So nobody ever knew what he was doing.
Premeditated murder.
Yeah, exactly. Premeditated theft.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was crazy. And my other favorite story, and this is about an octopus that was being held in captivity at Millersville University in Pennsylvania for research purposes. And the researcher brought the octopus its meal, and it was not a fresh meal. It wasn't something that the octopus caught in the ocean, and the octopus absolutely did not want to eat it, hated it. So in order to communicate her discontent with the meal, she waited. She left the food there, and the octopus waited until the researcher returned to the tank, where she made eye contact with the researcher while simultaneously stuffing the food down the drain in her tank. So the researcher, needless to say, got the point and got her a different meal, I assume fresher. But how creepy is that? I couldn't imagine being stared down by an octopus while it crammed its food down the drain. Like, this is not peasant. No, this is not good.
Dude, I'm taking you to Ripley's. just to stare at the octopus all day.
Oh, they're so creepy. But I mean, I think that all of that just adds to the argument of the alien.
Yeah.
It's an alien.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It seems like it's definitely like an alien dog or something. I mean, it's just nuts how smart they are. They're too smart. Just really too smart. All right. Well, as fate would have it, everyone, this is one of those times where it's kind of timey-wimey. And I come in after the show has been done. And obviously, we didn't need to add anything to the show because
it's long.
It's long and it's a blockbuster.
Right.
But Stacey put the time in on the octopus stories. And, she's already, as we pointed out, she's a little bit miffed with the octopus community.
A little wary.
So today, hot off the presses, as fate would have it, there was a crazy story on the headlines today. So there's a, I'll let you tell them.
Okay. Well, we just had to add this in because there was no way we could go without it. But it's this video that has come out of this octopus, this giant octopus attacking a scuba diver in the Sea of Japan.
Oh my God.
And there's a video. And we've already talked about how terrifying these octopus are.
The crazy thing is, you were talking about their behaviors not being exactly right. Like, they're creating these communities. That's not how octopus normally are. And they also don't, as a rule, just attack people.
No, you don't hear about that. And so this was a diver from Russia, and he was exploring the Sea of Japan. There was a couple other divers with him when this octopus just swims up and just starts getting its arms all over him. And he kept swimming. He didn't panic. And eventually the octopus pulled away, swam directly to the bottom of the ocean, and immediately changed the exact same color as the ground. Blended in just immediately.
It's so scary.
And if you didn't know, like if you weren't watching him go down there, you wouldn't have known where he was. And then he slithered into the rocks.
He slithered into the rocks. And as soon as he gets into the rocks, his head becomes part of the rock.
It's
completely part of the rock.
Right.
That very last frame of that video is freaking crazy. Its head looks like it's got these raised up pieces, just like the rock, and it's nuts and it's scary. And Stacey pointed something out. They wanted to make this the most extreme as they could. You know, the octopus attacks diver, and she was talking about, you know, if you really watch the video, it doesn't look like an attack.
Right, like the octopus swims up to the diver, but he doesn't wrap his arms around the man. Like you would think if he was going for the diver, he would have wrapped his arms around and started swimming on.
Right.
Instead, the arms are going all up and down, and it looks to me like it's touching the equipment that the diver is wearing.
The breathing equipment, not like the guy's equipment.
Right, like the tank and the harness
it's a
and
Bill
the
Cosby
flippers
octopus.
sort of thing.
Hey, dude, got some Jello. You like some Jello?
One arm's waving the pudding pop. So to me, this video is terrifying. One, because unprovoked octopus attack.
Right.
And two, because I think that it was just trying to get intelligence. I don't think that it was trying to get that, because octopus are strong. We've determined this.
Yeah.
And if he wanted to drag that guy around, he probably could have.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe that
very scary.
I believe you've broken this wide open, and I think that we're going to have to worry now. We were going to plan a beach trip for later this summer. I'm not sure I should have you near the ocean. I'm thinking that it might be going through octopus shortwave radios right now.
Right.
That and I can just see them. You know, one octopus could control the entire communication center with all its little arms. You know, and
so you're saying all those downloads we have in Australia aren't really in Australia,
right. Truly down under.
They're just off the coast.
Yeah, down under the sea. So anyway, we thought we should add that in and give you guys a little bit of an update and let you know, watch out for the octopus.
All right, so I have a few more stories here just to kind of finish up the show, and you're going to love these. These are great. So this first one is from Shelby, North Carolina.
Oh, it's really close.
Very close to Bigfoot story.
Oh, love it.
And this is a story that was done on the local news there,
yes.
WCNC, about a Shelby woman that says she's seeing something very strange in the woods behind her home.
Yeah.
And it would be Bigfoot. And they had a video. She claims she had this video, and the video was taken on a trail camera. And so the news played the video while they did their story. Like they made their own, video package of the story. And when you watch the video, it's very dark, it's very grainy. You can't really see anything on it. It's trail cam footage.
Right.
But she did also have pictures of footprints and plaster casts of the footprints that she was showing that I thought were very impressive. She said she's counted about 8 different sized prints, and they're all humongous.
Wow.
And so I thought it was really interesting that the local news did the story. They were not joking about it. Like
so
they
have
took
a whole family of Bigfoot.
Seriously. Yes, she believes that she does. And she leaves stuff out for them, but she says that they don't want like apples and bananas. She leaves candy and cookies and peanut brittle and peanut butter sandwiches.
Man, I bet they love her.
No wonder
They're coming from all over North Carolina.
So, I thought it was really cool that the local news did the story in a very...
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I mean, I just hope it don't end up like the old lady that feeds the cats all that nice stuff. And then one day...
She's the crazy Bigfoot lady.
Yeah, one day the old lady's gone, I mean, that's... But no, that's really crazy. And it has that one's made the news everywhere. Mm-hmm. But there's been all kinds of Bigfoot sightings in Georgia, mm-hmm. North Carolina, mm-hmm. and really just the southeast like that. So, don't feed the Bigfoot. But it goes back to like our friends, Bill and Amy Lancaster and their movies they made, the documentaries they made with cultured Bigfoot, and it had the piece in there about the Native Americans.
Yes.
In the same area. It was the North Carolina Native Americans, if you remember.
Yes.
And they were talking about how years ago, hundreds of years ago, through oral tradition, they would talk about the fact that they would leave the Bigfoots, or the Sasquatch. They would leave the Sasquatch, the food, the corn, or whatever.
The offerings, yeah.
The offerings, tobacco, what I don't know. But the Bigfoot would come down off the mountain and leave them like roots and things that they needed that were, way up there, hard to get and all that.
They just didn't want them to come traipsing through there. They're like, I'm just going to bring this to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, stuff that was really useful.
Right,
and,
right.
it's very interesting, you know, how that, you know, that was just normal to them. And they believed that when the Bigfoot died, they became the nature spirits of the woods, which we know exist.
Right, that just protect the woods.
Yeah. And so it's really interesting to me because I'm sure the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, have their own oral traditions.
Right,
And-
about the people that leave the things out for them.
Right. And I'll tell you, there is there's a new documentary coming out, and it's a new Missing 411. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I have the old one, the like the first one they had come out or whatever. And of course the book series have been ridiculously popular.
Yes.
Because it's national parks. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's David Pilates, and he has these books, and it goes all over the country. He has East Coast, West Coast, you know, North, South, international. You know, he's really went all out, and pretty much done his whole life to try to get all these cases from national park disappearances. And so there's a new documentary coming out. I think it comes out on my birthday, which would be June 25th. And on that June 25th date,
Right.
they showed a clip of this, and it was showing these men. You've got to see this clip. We got to put this on the website.
Okay.
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 So everybody listening right now can see this clip. But they show these men, and they're camping, but they're camping in kind of like a tree. Like they've built it themselves. It's not like a full on cabin. It really looks like the base of a tree. Even the door is like this wood
Right.
piece of cut off timber, you know. And, it's very shoddily put together.
Right.
But 1972, I think, was the year. And they had been going up there hunting and hanging out, whatever, for a long time in the Pacific Northwest. And they were hearing things, crazy things. These things were messing with them. And they would mess with them, I think, like weekly or whatever, daily. And they would never cross that line, though. The Bigfoot would never come and take them. Like they would, but the guys would sit there scared to death in like a circle and terrified. So you were talking earlier about until you see it or hear it for yourself and everything. There is maybe the scariest thing that I've ever heard on the Bigfoot side of things. And it was on this clip, and I can't wait to see the entire documentary. But they had like I guess an old reel-to-reel
Right.
out there recording this, and there was Bigfoot, or what they think is a Bigfoot. This could be a nature spirit,
Right.
okay? But it's down at the river or whatever, really close to them. But the sound that it makes, will curdle your blood.
Wow.
The sound that it makes. I was just watching it, and I'll be honest with you. A lot of these times, people, I'm half-ass watching this stuff. I am just like so burnt from the day or whatever. But I like to keep up with it because you never know when you're going to see that gem. And this was that gem, and it was just the sound that it made has not left me, and that's been days, and it really bothers me. And I can tell you where you can see this. A lot of you know about Secure Team Tyler, and he's one of probably the leading UFO channel out there.
Yeah, I think it's Secure Team 10.
Secure Team 10. Everybody knows what we're talking about there. And and when we first started talking about them, people didn't know what we were talking about. That was years and years ago.
That's the Haunted South, I think.
Yeah, it was Haunted South. Yeah. You're welcome, Tyler. But he's been, kind of here and there lately. He used to put out video every day, and just now starting to get back into that. But this wasn't a video. I think he's got an agreement with David Pilates, and he's he had like part of an interview, push the documentary,
right,
showed an extended clip, gonna have another interview with him, and he's done that a couple of times with a couple of documentary filmmakers. But I think you could find it there in a couple of days ago. But yeah, that just reminds me of that, and also what's going on with that lady is just something that the Sasquatch have been used to, and maybe we should try that instead of trying to make shows like killing Bigfoot.
Right. Instead of whacking on trees and yelling into the forest, maybe
Right.
bring some chocolate and peanut butter sandwiches.
Right, exactly. Instead of, thinking you know their language. I mean, I don't know if anybody thinks that.
Right,
But-
right. That would be weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe make them offerings and show them some
Exactly.
respect.
Yeah, exactly. And leave them alone.
Right,
Just
right.
just leave them the offering. See what happens. Maybe they'll leave us a big pile of scat.
Maybe.
You never know.
All right, well, let's move on to this next story. And this is about a haunted medieval prison that held accused witches that is up for sale.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
This is located in St. Osyth in Essex in the UK. And of course, the building's been completely redone into this
Swords of
adorable little cottage.
Right.
But the woman that owns it, her name is Vanessa Mitchell. She lived there for a while, but eventually moved out, basically fled the house because she says that she was, quote, physically attacked. She saw mysterious blood splatters and claims there are malevolent ghosts there, one of which was a satanic-looking goat. Now, this is the third time.
Now, hold on a second. How does she know the poor goat was satanic? I have never seen a goat that didn't look satanic.
That's true. Well, it doesn't say that it's a satanic goat. It's
I
just a
think-
satanic-looking goat. So
I
just a goat.
honestly believe demons walk among us. They are goats.
They're goats.
Anybody who has ever been to a petting zoo, what kind of sick bastards put goats in a petting zoo?
They are creepy.
I mean, you can't look at them with their little square freaking pupils and all this. Just that. I mean, they're so mean and creepy and scary, and they got those knowing eyes, and
They do look at you like they know.
they know.
Yes,
like
I
they
do
know.
agree.
They
I
know
do
the
agree.
secret. What's the secret? Hell, I don't know, but they do.
Well, this particular home is a 2-bedroom cottage. And during the St. Osyth witch trials in 1582, 14 women were accused of witchcraft-related crimes.
Right.
And 3 of those women were executed, but they were all housed at the cage during their trials. And one of the accused, her name was Ursula Kemp. She was just a local healer who was sentenced to death by hanging. And she's even commemorated by a plaque that hangs in the building on one of the walls. Wow. So the woman that owns the house, she absolutely can't sell it. She keeps trying. And the realty company that is listing at this time is kind of taking a different approach. They're hoping that by putting all the history out there, by saying, this is a particularly bad haunted house, that they can attract a different kind of clientele, like maybe somebody that wants it to use it as a holiday spot, or a paranormal destination, not specifically to just live there unless they don't care to live
I
with a
wonder
bunch
why
of ghosts.
she don't want to keep it and use it as a paranormal destination.
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like she was scared there, so perhaps she just doesn't want it.
I get it.
But it does say that in 1921, 2 female skeletons that were thought to be the remains of executed witches were unearthed in a garden during a construction project. So some of the bones appeared to have been pierced with nails, which is a common practice for dead witches to keep their spirits, from haunting the living or whatever. But definitely a lot of history with this house. It's very cute on the inside. They kept a lot of the old timey looking things. You and I couldn't live there because the ceilings are very low. Right. And you would just constantly have to hunker over to walk through there.
I couldn't take that call. I get freaked out. It's not even, I could do it. It's just, I'm not good with tight spaces.
They did say that a previous owner had also committed suicide in the house. So definitely a lot of haunted history, and it's
So the big thing that pops out to me there is the 2-room cottage, but it was a prison for
2-bedroom cottage.
Yeah. But
Well, it was a prison before they transferred it into it was a cottage to begin with.
Right.
Somebody
more of a jail.
Somebody looked at it and was like, "Oh, look, they used to house witches there. It's called the Cage. I'll make that a home."
Yeah, no, I get it,
So-
but it's more of a jail. Like when I hear prison, I think of Sylvester Stallone. I think of Breaking Out.
It is. I mean, later in the article, they do call it a jail. It's not really like a prison, but they did lock them up there. And maybe somebody can get it for a nice holiday rental. It's about 240,000 pounds is what they're listing it
there's
for.
Your problem.
Yeah, pretty expensive.
Like 80,000 pounds is sold.
All right, well, let's move on. So this is a story about a bishop, a Catholic bishop that wants to pour holy water over a city from a helicopter to carry out an exorcism on demons of the entire city.
This sounds like a really, really bad idea. This is like Les Nessman dropping the turkeys.
Turkeys for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I swear to God, I thought turkeys could fly. I'll never forget. It was actually Les Nessman on the ground.
So I think we watch that every year.
It's just the best. It's just the best.
I think the first time I saw that, I couldn't even breathe.
I think
I was laughing so hard.
Nobody could breathe in my whole family. It was at my grandparents', and that's where we watched it at. And I think it's as God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. And I remember everybody was slayed because, like I told you, we all used to watch TV together and stuff.
Right.
It's one of the ones I remember. God knows what year that was, but it's just one of the ones you remember because everybody was just dying.
Oh, it's because you just can't write comedy like that anymore.
Oh.
All right. So this bishop's name is Ruben Darlo Jaramillo Montoya.
Wow, that's an awesome name.
He is the Bishop of Buenaventura in Colombia.
Right.
And he claims that he wants to purge the streets of evil. And his idea
a lot of it
is to take a helicopter and the National
Super Soaker.
The National Army is supporting this plan, offered him the use of their helicopter,
Jesus.
and they're reportedly working with the priest to figure out where they will pour the holy water.
What they need to do is like impregnate the clouds with it.
Well, I'm really curious how this is going to work because I don't know if he's just going to pour little bits of holy water out or if they've got, I would think of one of those planes that drops big barrels of water, like on fires.
You know what I would do?
That would work.
I'd get a bunch of chicks to do a wet t-shirt contest, like to counteract the... Can you imagine how mad they would get? They're probably all catch on fire though.
Well, it says in this article that he plans to do the exorcism between July 13th and 14th during a local festival. Okay, two problems with this. Number one, it's a festival and he's going to drop water on a bunch of people. And number two, he's given the date out. So if there are demons in the city, they're just going to, go on holiday during that time and then come back after it's over. You don't give away the time you plan on, exorcising evil.
How cool would it be to do it without telling people and you start seeing these people on the street like, Margaret? It was because it's going to be the ones you're not expecting.
I mean,
it's,
yeah,
Helen?
that's true.
Are you all right?
Why are you smoking? I don't understand what's happening.
Deirdre?
In Colombia? You think there's a Deirdre in Colombia?
There better be a Deirdre. Deirdre?
Well, you know what? Kudos to him for thinking outside of the box, though.
Yeah, kudos to him for giving me a hell of a story. I'm the one that found that one. When I saw that, I was like, this is the damn golden gem of stories.
I'm waiting for the story on July 15th.
About the helicopter going down?
Right.
It's just so funny. It's like if they had a sitcom on a priest.
Right.
It's something that he would do. Like it's like getting the bottles mixed up and dropping like the boric acid or something. It's
right. Okay, so I have two more stories for you, okay? All right, so this one is about a mother in Russia. And she's being investigated for digging up her adult son from the grave and taking his body home.
That should be your right.
Yeah, that should what?
No, nothing. That's horrible.
So the man's name is Zivady Zobava.
The dead
very
guy?
Russian, yes. He died of leukemia and he was buried in his hometown. Not even going to try and say that. It's in Russia. And soon after his death, his mother had a dream that he was alive. And so she decided she wanted to go to him. So she went to his wife. He was married. And she asked her to exhume the body because she had this dream, that he was alive. Well, his wife refused. She's like, we're not digging the body up. And so she took it upon herself to go to where he was buried, dig up the grave, remove the coffin and everything, put it in her car, take it home, leave the coffin outside in the courtyard, take his body out, and take it into her house. Now, the only reason she got caught is because some neighbors noticed the coffin sitting there for a few days and called the police.
Why did it take a couple days?
Well, they noticed the coffin sitting there for like 3 days.
I'm just saying.
Like that coffin's been there for 3 days. It's obviously not going anywhere. So the police raided her house, and she confessed to, having taken her son.
What kind of car did she have?
I don't know. A lot of stuff about this doesn't make sense. Like, first of all, coffins are heavy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say that she had any help.
Well, her son.
So she pulled this thing out of the ground by herself, stuck it in her car.
Yeah.
It had to be a big vehicle.
Hey,
and then,
Mom.
took it all the way home. And another thing I thought was funny about this article is it claims that the mother, who's not going to be named, did this, but they gave the son's name and said it was his mother.
Yeah.
So it's not like her identity is being hidden here. Like,
No, it's really nuts, man. It's
It is. And supposedly they have put her into a mental facility for examination, and I believe she's going to be there for 2 months while they determine her mental state.
Well, hopefully she's listening. So let me ask you a question, a serious question.
Yes.
Say I kicked the bucket.
Right.
My mom, has a vision that I'm like, hey, I'm still here.
Right. Right.
I need you to come get me. Mm-hmm. And she calls you. Would you do it?
I would. Because visions in your family,
Yeah.
totally dig you up.
Yeah.
I would honestly do it just to give her peace of mind.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know how easy that is. So
the whole problem I have is, how clean we are in the United States and stuff. I really don't. I want to get around the formaldehyde thing. I'm serious. I want to rise again.
Problem
and I can't rise again.
Right.
If you take my blood out and put formaldehyde, I need you to take me to a country.
Right.
Where you can just throw my ass in,
Do you have to have the formaldehyde? Is that a thing?
I don't know, but I would guess there is some reason. Maybe.
I thought it was just for the open casket thing, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
I don't like people staring at me anyway.
You don't want open casket?
Hell no. No, I don't want people coming over and like touching me and stuff. Like, if you ever want to see a funeral get wrecked, like, you ever wonder how soon can it get haunted? Well, have a bunch of these freaking people that I wouldn't let look at me in real life. Okay, listen. Everybody has little issues. Everybody has little things about them, little quirks and stuff. Here's a couple of John ones. This has been to kind of get to know us now, right? So I don't like you to stare at me. Now, that's weird to be someone who does public speaking,
Wrestling.
I'm on TV. I'm on local TV. I've been on national TV. I'm just, I'm there, right? So that kind of staring at me doesn't matter. That doesn't bother me. I'm talking.
That's not staring though. That's watching you do something.
Right. I'm talking about when I'm eating a burrito. when I'm eating, if a hamburger. When I'm something like that, especially when I'm eating. I cannot describe to you. I can't. I wish I knew what it was. But when someone stares at me when I'm eating. I want to take my fork and jab it in their eye.
Can you imagine all those wrestling fans
at
your funeral? The ones that you don't talk to. And okay, so let's do this. I know you don't want the open coffin, but what if we did the open coffin and you were there in spirit, and every time somebody went to touch you, you just slam the coffin lid on them?
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm going to shake my body and stuff. Oh, God. I'm going to turn my head. I'm going to have it.
You're going to open the eyes.
Well, no, I'm just going to have the head go whoop.
And clear the room out.
Right
clear the room
him.
right out.
It's going to be bad. I mean, I will definitely haunt the crap out of it if I can pass the consecrated crown.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I would not do that if that's not what you wanted. I know you don't want to be cremated.
Yeah,
and I know you don't want.
I don't want to be cremated because I have a feeling that you feel it.
I don't know. I mean, once you leave the body, I don't think.
Yeah, you know what? They keep going further and further with how long the mind has some consciousness.
So what if we just kept you in the funeral home for like 3 weeks? and then cremated you.
Well, I'm
Because
going
by
to
that time, you're going to be kind of raunchy.
I was going to say, I'm going to be half rotten.
Yeah.
We know one funeral home that would do
Keep
it.
you in a freezer. I think if we keep you in a freezer, you wouldn't be rotten.
Would you just keep me in a freezer at the house? Can we get a special freezer room?
Ooh, I wonder if you could do that. Yeah.
I just put me in like a lazy boy and just like one room that's a
To be
freezer.
like, we're going to bury him, but we're going to have a refrigerated
well,
tomb.
it's kind of like having a mausoleum, you know.
Right, that's what I
it
mean.
wouldn't be creepy to the kids or anything. Like they would just think it was like one of those weeks I didn't want to be bothered.
Can I put a little window so we can stare at
That's
you?
what I mean. I'll just give me like a lazy boy or something. I'm just gonna sit back, stick my left hand down my front pants,
Like you're sleeping.
like I'm fanning my boys, and
Right.
and you know, give me the remote, and boy, that'd be fun. Give me a remote that really operates the TV. Have two of them,
And then change the channel. Be like, quit doing that.
and try watching Grey's Anatomy. Turn it on the sound of music. Let's just. You really want to do some paranormal experiments?
Right.
That's it. Bring a dude in the house.
I think it's really good. Mama's moving on. She's gonna do Mama. She's gonna have. There's a man coming.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that anyway.
Oh, I wouldn't do that either, sweetie. There's no way I would have another man.
All right, last story.
Okay.
So this is from Michigan. So you know it's going to be a weird story.
No. Hold on a second. Remember, we found out Michigan really isn't weird.
I think that's right. We got the message, and she said it's not as weird as we think it is.
And then she listed all these things that do happen there, like vampires and werewolves.
Right, that are weird.
Yeah.
And that there's a place called Hell, Michigan.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Lake Monster.
It's a weird place. I don't know.
I'm sorry, dude. Michigan is weird. It has the full gambit. You should take pride in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not many places have every type of paranormal activity and Eminem, which you can't. I mean, it's hard to put him in a category. You know, like what kind of magician was that white kid? You know, but I'm just saying.
All right, so this is from Saginaw Township, Michigan, and this is about a man who has announced his candidacy for the 94th district seat in the Michigan House of Representatives. And his name is, are you ready for this? Kevin Seaman. That's his name.
Oh, that's a good name. I don't understand
name.
what's so funny about that.
Yeah, okay, no jokes? Okay,
No.
good. So he makes a variety of claims about working for the federal government as an agent and a psychic. And he's just coming out with it. He's saying, he ran one other time and lost, but claims he wasn't allowed to say anything about his work. And this time he is. So he's just he wants to put it all out there. And so he did a written statement. And he said, and this is in his statement, in the last election, I wasn't allowed to use my military title as I am Senior Commander Commando Legionnaire Kevin Christopher Seaman of the United States Military.
Do we have legionnaires?
In Saginaw, Michigan. I think we have
Isn't
commandos.
Isn't that like some kind of cancer?
He's also, that's not all, he's also Federal Agent White Knight 196. That's also a title. And he says he's a real life government psychic.
All right, hold on a second. I'm writing down. White Knight.
Right.
Is it Knigget? Is it like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's. I was gonna make sure it wasn't like nighttime.
No, like sword
Knigget.
armor knight. Yeah.
White Knigget. And what's the number on it?
196.
196. I'm trying to decipher this.
Yeah, no, I don't think we have federal agents called White Knights 196. And if we do, it's not something you can talk about.
Yeah, one. I'm just waiting right now for the White Kniggets to like.
Right, to nix this whole podcast.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, we're at the end of the third. We'll lose the whole thing. Also, I don't think that we have Senior Commander Commando Legionnaires. I don't even know what that is or what branch of the military that would
I
be.
hope we do.
Are there Junior Commander Commando Legionnaires?
I don't know, but I you know what? The Rock will be in a movie soon where that's what he's doing. So no, a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I know Michigan is strange, and I know Michigan has let's just say they've got maybe they don't have enough facilities up there for wonderful politician wannabes that,
Right.
And I don't like when people say they're psychic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then they run a really bad campaign.
Right. And like last time he lost.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like let's just say that I was super good at being a psychic.
Right. Good enough to work for the government.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think that I would run a pretty damn good campaign.
Right. You think you'd have the inside edge on that.
I would know that this might be a bad move.
Right.
You know, just that guy is classic. I just can't believe, honestly, I can't believe they haven't showed up in white coats.
Well, and at the time that I got this article, nobody had signed up to run against him.
Oh my God.
So hopefully somebody else is going to jump in that race.
They might love him.
You never know. I mean, he is running on a good platform, education, lowering crime, focusing on jobs. You know, he's got a campaign. It's just that he felt that he needed to try and come out in the open about what he does, about his job, about his military experience.
Iceland, I don't know if you know this or not. Iceland just, was it president or grand poobah? I don't know what they got.
Right.
Iceland just voted in for their top dog, a young environmentalist woman.
Okay.
And like, that's what she is though. She's not like a politician. She's like a save the whales and you know, all that stuff. So I mean, anything's possible right now. I'm not even saying that the lady's not qualified and be a great thing to help them and stuff, but I think there's a lot of consciousness right now that you know, through, again, right down the middle here, whether you think it's fear mongering or whether you think it's a realistic problem, there is a great amount of fear being fed to people. Okay. One amount of fear is the whole world's going to melt and die in 10 years.
Right.
The other side of fear is that a bunch of kooks that think the world's going to melt and die is going to take away all the fun out of life.
Right.
You know, so I mean, they've got the fear working on both sides. And so people like 30-year-old, probably not the best suited to run a country, is getting elected. That's some scary stuff. So people like this are the ones that are going into politics because people are to the point where, I mean, no matter what side you're on, all you're seeing is BS, man. Nothing's getting done. People just fight. And come on, everybody has to agree with that. And yeah, it might be one side's fault that the other side's fighting. Pick your side there. I don't care.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, it just seems like there's a lot of people slipping through. Because I've seen in the last couple of years, just in the United States, you know, some congressmen and stuff that have got through that really. I mean, I hear some of these people talk.
Right.
And they say, I mean, they're just like, I mean, I'm like, you know what? I don't believe the reptilians are doing Congress.
No, I don't
there
think
might
so.
be some senators that are reptilians.
Right.
And some military. But I'm pretty confident Congress has been left alone.
Well, you know, I've not heard this gentleman talk or speak, but it does say in here that he has an associate degree from Delta College and a bachelor's degree from Northwood University. So, you know, the only thing that seems to be wrong is this strange admission of his military experience and job. And, you know, it seems like a completely made up name. I'm not saying that it is, but the title is not anything that we have ever heard of. And, you know, stolen valor is a real thing. You can't say that you're in the military if, you know, you've not been in the military.
Yeah, I mean, that's
it's insulting.
I mean, stolen valor is actually illegal. And, you know, Delta College, I think it's a community college. Again, not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
I went to a community college. My beautiful wife did not. She went to an actual, well, by actual, I mean, you know.
A university. He did say he went to Northwood University too.
Okay.
For his bachelor's degree.
There you
So
go.
he
Right.
moved on up. So I don't know. We'll just have to see if he wins, if anybody runs against him, or if any light is shed on his interesting military title.
I don't know if I care.
I don't either. I just thought it was funny.
Oh, I would like to see him get elected though. I mean, because that would give us something for a while.
Shake up some House of Representatives there.
We might go up there to one of his parties. I mean, we've been wanting to go to Michigan anyway.
There you go. We'll just stop in,
It's like,
show our support.
See if we can get him on the show. I mean, that's
Talk about his government psychic work.
yeah. Well, I firmly I'm going to do a live show at Scarefest for sure, and I think that'll be fun. And I mean, I think that not our traditional shows, but like video, and as long as my 4G holds out, so
There you go.
or I hack somebody's Wi-Fi. You don't listen to that Scarefest. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, some great news.
Yes, thank you.
And I appreciate it. That was, by the way, that was our super edition. And we do those every now and then, especially when we have as much craziness happen. I mean, dude, I have been on, I'm my work day is starting. I've been on an hour's sleep in the last 40 some hours.
I know. It's just been so weird.
It's been a weird time. But
I blame the full moon.
I blame the full moon too. I blame a lot of things. I blame a whole lot. But the one thing I gotta say is we love all of you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for coming on the trip with us. Thank you so much for, laughing along with us and learning some things and communicating with us on the Facebook. So be sure, facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. Get in on there and get part of the conversation. Speak up, let us know, or send us a message. As we said earlier, paranormalsideshow@gmail.com. That's a good way to send, some ideas in or send some comments in. Definitely, no matter if you're listening to iHeartRadio or Spotify or however, iTunes, leave us a review, a good one. Give us some love on there. All the ways to reach us. Biggest way, paranormalsideshow.com. And for my lovely, lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John, and so long from the Sideshow.
Good night.